Podcast Live. I'm
Wait.
simply... What?
Say it again, because I had the desktop audio muted.
Oh. Hello. Welcome to the Two Dads Podcast Live. I'm your co-host, Simply, and with me, we have, of course, Cheezo5. How you doing today, buddy?
What's up, Dad? I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Got some things to say about Two Dads Podcast. We're on iTunes, so we're killing it there. I believe we're on Google Play as well. So if you like the podcast, you like what you're hearing, you like the dads, please go give it a review if you want. Help other people find the podcast. That's how it gets a little more exposure.
All right, give us a run through though. How do we actually find the podcast when you're on iTunes?
So I don't know about Android because I do not have an Android phone, but on my iPhone, if I go to my iTunes app, let's open her up. La 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 la. Now, originally when I Googled just Cheezo5, that was the only way I could get it to come up. But now, I think if I just search up Two Dads Podcast, the Two Dads Podcast, we are buffering. We're buffering. Should come up here. Last time, yep. And it's for some reason it's using the old banner, but we're like fourth for Two Dads Podcast. So if you just do some scrolling, should come up. But yeah, without further ado, and episodes usually are uploaded to the podcast the following day or the night. It depends on once they're uploaded to YouTube and how lazy I am. But anyway, before we get into this, a little interview discussion about motivation, growing your game community. We'll get more into that with Shift in a second. I just want to go over some news. Would you like to hear some news, Cheezo5?
Please hit me with it. I'm way too excited for this.
All right. Well, Enop broke his own world record in Majora's Mask any percent 5 days ago. Sorry, 2 days ago. He's got a 116.50 now.
Oh my god, that's crazy. I was about to ask, let's see if he's reaching, if he reached 116 yet. Because I think one of his recent world records is like a high 117. That's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, they're killing it. Well, they're still, getting adjusted to that. Yeah, still optimizing from the menu equip glitch or whatever. And of course, last week we heard that Shaden had bopped Nicrovita, took him down in any percent, but Nicrovita's not going down that easy. Did get a 103.33 in Super Mario Odyssey any percent 5 days ago, and I believe he is on top right now. But they're gonna, of course, keep pushing that down. Linkus, our boy, 103.18 in the Wind Waker HD any percent. HD, awesome. The Wind Waker HD any percent and Mario Odyssey are like tied. They're like the same exact length. It's kind of cool.
That's crazy. Yeah, dude, Linkus every week I see Linkus getting a new world record. It's going pretty ham.
Yeah, Linkus and Gymnast kind of going off. Last thing I'll say that I see here, we also have regular Wind Waker, Demon 9, 354.43. New world record by our boy. And yeah, Cheese, you also had an interview with Darbian. You want to talk about that at all?
So yeah, I actually posted it I tweeted it. But I didn't really talk about it much before because I kind of, it happened really quickly. Yeah, I had basically a podcast like this one with Darbian 2 days. Was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago. With a guy named Christian Sears. He has it's a very small YouTube channel, but me and Darbian thought that it'd be a really good opportunity because we never had a podcast with two big Mario runners, different Mario games, but Mario related games. In one podcast talking about the difference between 2D and 3D Mario games, which I think was really interesting. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. I tweeted it. It's on YouTube. You guys can check it out. I could post it later in chat as well. You can check that out. I think it was really awesome.
Cool.
I was just about to ask something. Damn it.
It'll come back, I believe.
Something about the world records, and I can't. Oh, right. Yeah. So I found there's actually a Twitter account called World Records in Speedrunning, something like that just posts world records of every game in speedrunning every time someone gets a world record. And it's just, dude, it's daily. There's so many runs, so many new world records every single day. It's insane to see that.
You gotta send me that link.
Dude, and just games that I didn't even know were like a thing. or I didn't even know existed. Just world records popping up, and I'm like, wow, it's really interesting.
That sounds fascinating. I would love to have that link and through the world records to see what's going on.
It's insanity. You won't believe it.
I don't believe it. That's why I need a link.
Okay, so let's go on to today's guest a bit. Let's talk about this beautiful man, and he's it's showing up a lot in chat right now, so I think everyone knows who it is. We seem to have a lot of Shift fans in chat right now. So today's guest is none other than the Shift himself. He's a well-known runner now. He's one of the newest speedrunners as well in the community. He started 2 to 3 years ago. And he would give us a rundown of his experiences. And he got big really fast as well. Speedrun SpongeBob.
Bob.
Yeah, and that game, I think that game as well climbed up really fast in the whole popularity scale. And yeah, you have anything else to say about him before we pop on him here?
I think that's all. We'll be talking about motivation and growing community, but also we've got some other side topics we'd like to talk about. So we'll see what happens. But without further ado, the legendary speedrunner Shift.
Welcome to man. What's up, babe?
What's going on, boys?
How's it going?
It's going all right. Just really tired. It's gonna be here though.
On spring break now, I heard. That's some good shit.
Got time to grind.
That's right. You what do you try to shoot for in a day usually? Like now that you have spring break, what are you gonna try to shoot for every day?
In terms of hours, right?
Yeah.
I played 11 yesterday.
Oh my god. Going off. All SpongeBob?
Yeah, pretty much the same game the whole time.
Did you stream 11 hours or play?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Streamed 11 hours. I did any percent for 9 hours, and then the other 2 hours I worked on some like routing and stuff for NG+. Did a couple of runs. Yeah, it's a pretty cool category.
So
of course, you got your 5701. That was what, 2 days ago?
That was like 14 hours ago.
Oh wow.
Oh, shit.
24 hours before that, I got 5708. So I've been going off.
So you're making moves happen.
Crazy.
Making moves, yeah, making moves.
That's good stuff. I like it when people make moves.
Not just me though, like a lot of people have been submitting runs and getting into the game. It's good to see. I'm gonna be making some new tutorials soon as well. I try to do that like once a year, make a bunch of new videos, people to get into it.
Nice.
That's a good idea. Didn't have like 2 years ago that like when I started learning it, there was nothing to really teach yourself with except like watching the world record and learning shit. But now like there's a whole playlist full of stuff to learn from, and there's a whole community to teach you. So that's part of why the game's gotten a lot bigger, is because of like the resources and the people, like the community being open to helping people and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Brave Squire, for the dime bits, baby.
Also, there's one tit from Ray Squire. Okay, so give us a little bit of a rundown, Shift. Who are you? When did you start speedrunning? What is your inspirations?
All right, so you want to start with like
take us to way back when.
I got into speedrunning is probably an okay thing to talk about. Right?
Sure, yeah.
Right. Yeah, just take us back as far as you'd like. You can go back to middle school playing Call of Duty if you want, or you can
like first semester of college, say like.
All right.
I was distance running in college.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I was like a long distance runner, like an 8K runner. Came off of high school. Late in high school, like the only good race I really had in high school was like a 4:29 that I got toward the end of my senior year in the mile. So I got sub 4:30 in the mile, and that was like the team was like, we want you to run for us. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So I did that for a semester, and I kind of got like a little bit burned out, and with like some like health issues like asthma and stuff. I wasn't really feeling it too much. So I ended up like having a really bad time trial, and I didn't make the team. So during that time off, I was like, well, what am I going to do with myself now, right? So I tried to play a little bit of Melee. I wasn't really feeling it. But then I played a little bit of Guitar Hero. Wasn't feeling that either. Then I found speedrunning, right? So this started with my brother who told me about like, hey, listen, remember this game we played as a kid? Like there's a really sick speedrun of this that I've never seen before, and you have to watch it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I watched it, and it turned out to be a task. Like it's the task that Hazel or It's Personal, or they made that like 2 years ago or so. It's like a 105 on GameCube. It's like super outdated, but it was cool as fuck. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I want to be able to do stuff like this. So we sat down, we pulled up the CRT, took the game out of the closet, and we started playing it. And we started learning like cruise boosting and sponge gliding and stuff. So I was like telling my friends like this is so cool. Like you have to see the stuff you can do in this game. And like, oh yeah, like some of them were like, oh, I've seen this before. Can you do this trick or can you do that trick? I'm like, no, I can't, but I can learn. Like I can figure this out. So it got to the point where like I was learning these tricks and like having fun with the game. Just like I never could have saw myself as someone putting that much time into a video game or like sitting down and speedrunning. But then I'm just like, you know what? I know all these tricks. Why don't I just play the game, do a run? So after a week of just like messing around with the game, I decided to do a run. Pulled out my iPhone timer because I didn't know what live split was back then.
Hey.
Pulled out my Easy Cap that I bought from a friend for like $10. And I did a run, and it was really bad, but it was my first speed run ever, and it was pretty exciting to get that over with.
But did you know anything about the speedrunning community at all, or were you engaged in speedrunning community? Did you know anybody in it before you did your first run?
Yeah, I had a friend who was like a big fan of Skater back in the day, and another friend of his is like he wanted to get into speedrunning himself. My first exposure to speedrunning was not really a good one, actually. I was over I remember this back in like I think like early high school. I was at my friend's house and it was like a pool day. Like we were going in the pool, chilling outside, and he invited a friend over who was just obsessed with OOT. Like he was in the basement on his Wii, like practicing Hesses and stuff, which I didn't know what that was at the time. So we were outside playing in the pool, and he's like, you want to go in and see if Jim wants to come out and swim with us? And I'm like, all right, cool. So I go in, he's sitting there like grinding away. This is before I don't really know too much about OOT any percent, but there was like this one Hess like in the lake area that sends you all the way, like back when they used to collect the chickens in any percent, right? When Narcissa used to play, right? That old route. He was practicing that, and I'm just like, you've been doing this trick for 3 hours. What's up, bro? And he's like, I'm just trying to get good, man. I'm just like, I don't understand why he's doing this. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you spend so much time on that? It's just a game, you know? So a few years later, I'm just like, I see myself doing the same thing. I'm like, I finally understand it now. Like, it's actually pretty sick to see yourself improve in something. Yeah, it was the first time I'd heard of speedrunning though. So when I got into it, I was mostly only following like OOT any percent because my friend was a huge fan of Skater, and that's like what kind of got me into like the serious side of speedrunning. People actually putting a lot of time into games and dedicating thousands of hours to something. That's what was like my first exposure, like very serious speedrunning, I'd say.
That's awesome.
So you started playing SpongeBob, and it just kept going. Like, did you when you started? You were saying it was a very small community.
Yeah, there were 17 runners on the boards, and now we have I think we hit 222 today. So it's gone pretty far, and
it's quite the growth.
Exponential. That's awesome.
It's not even just like the number of players on the boards; it's also the number of full runs on the board as well.
Right.
Like, yeah, people have grinded this game. Like, not just the 220 people who play. Like a good portion of those people have grinded the shit out of the game. Like they keep submitting their time, proving.
It's their main focus. It's their main speed game.
Yeah, they're very dedicated to it. Yeah. So we're on the front page for most submitted runs. We're at like almost 1,400 now, which is a little bit past DK64, I think. So it's up there. A lot of dedicated runners. The problem is just like growing the community. It's starting to pick up now more because people are realizing that people actually play the game. It's not just me playing. Because I'm the only exposure a lot of these people see because I'm the big streamer who plays it. But there are a lot of people in the directory streaming all the time. I try to urge people, like, stream the game. Like, you're growing the community by playing. That's very important for any speed game you play. To give people another chance to watch, because I can't stream 24 hours a day.
Right.
If somebody else is in chat, it's like thinking about playing the game, like any game you're playing, Mario or SpongeBob or, OOT, like anything like that, just stream it and you're helping grow speedrunning too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so give us a little history about like the world record progression of SpongeBob from, because I see that you showed me we have pictures here of back in 2016.
You want to like show the graph?
Yeah. I'm gonna post it in chat. There's a link here that Shift sent us.
Yeah, let me just go through like the First, go through the history right now and just speedrun.com will load. There's a lot of traffic on this site now. Everybody's using it.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
It's got to load.
So this picture you sent me here, when was this? What month? What year?
Oh, that. Okay.
With the 107, 107 being the world record.
That was early June of 2016, like right after I got the world record.
Not even 2 years ago. That's insane.
Yeah.
So how long had you been playing at this point?
I think I started in the beginning of April, so it was around 2 months, a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, there were people who tried beating Cole's record before. I should just go over the history of the game like briefly.
Yeah, sure.
We have
sure.
Since like 2010, people have been doing runs of this game, but they weren't recorded because like SDA was, as you guys know, it was like difficult to upload full runs back then.
Right.
People would just like talk about their times a lot. For even the lesser known games, it's more common for that. But there was a guy who claimed to have a 2 or 3 hour time and then like a 2:30. So that was like the first exposure the game got to speedrunning was like 2010, 2011. And then a little bit later, like a year later, you may remember her as It's Personal, but Hazel started doing like serious runs of the game with Pitor Flex, and they were both like competing for world record for like a month or so. And then Cole, you guys probably remember Cole if you know about this game's history. He was like the big speedrunner for this game before I was the big speedrunner. Like he had like 1,000 YouTube subs. He was like moderately well known. Had like maybe like 20, 50 viewers, I think, when he was on world record page, something like that. Like people knew about the game back then, but it just never really took off because I don't know. I'm sure he was playing a lot, but it just wasn't enough to really like encourage people to run it, I guess. But he was like the big runner for this game who took Hazel's world record, and he was playing from like 2013 all the way through like 2015. So he had the world record, and he brought it down to a 109.29. And at that point, like the game was kind of dead for a while until a Canadian runner named Fuff. He's a Hat in Time speedrunner now. I think he's like top 5 or something now. Pretty crazy. He's gotten really good really fast because he's a really good speedrunner. But he beat Cole's record eventually and started improving his own times in 2016 until I showed up around April. At that point, the record was a 107. And by the beginning of June, I was able to take the record from him with a 107.15. And then he took it back from me. And I took it back from him. And since I took it back with a 106.35, I've defended the world record up until this point with a 57.01. So I've almost improved my own time by like, well, I have improved my own time by more than 10 minutes since I got the record, but I've almost defended it for a full 10 minutes as well. That's pretty much where the game stands today in terms of like the history of runners. You had Cole, who was like the big guy back in the day. His YouTube channel still like gets a lot of views as well. He's got a few videos that have like around 80,000 views. So the people knew about the game, but I guess there wasn't a sufficient number of resources for people to learn. So it never really took off. But when I first started running, I didn't even have the world record when I decided to do this. When I got sub 110, I said, I'm going to make a full tutorial and explain everything in the entire run. And since then, it just started to get a little bit bigger toward the end of 2016. And 2017, it really got big. And now you see like people have finally started to accept this game a lot more. And people are now submitting a lot of runs. I think we went up like 10 runners in the past like week or so.
Wow.
Yeah, like people are really starting to pick it up now. It's awesome.
That's crazy.
Especially with like, the hype surrounding the new tricks and stuff, yeah.
So new tricks. What do we got? Well, okay, I guess since you've started playing, could you give a rundown of like how it's changed? Like how has the game evolved since you've been in? And have you been a part of that process, or is it other people that have found stuff?
In the beginning, in 2016, when not a lot of people were playing, I was mostly doing the work because at that point, Hazel and Cole were both retired, and I was kind of the main guy doing the routing and strat finding and stuff. But there were some like smaller things that people found along the way in 2016. But other than that, like it was mostly me then. I improved my time all the way down to a 1 flat that year. The world record improved by more than 7 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And then the next year, like immediately, the beginning of 2017, right before GDQ, I got 59. And that was like, at that point, like I was averaging 500 concurrent viewers. The game was starting to really pick up right before it got into GDQ. And because of like that wave of popularity for the game, a lot of people picked it up. And also my stream got really big off of it too. And those two things, like the community building and the stream building, kind of they built off each other to get to this point where we are now. But as far as new strats go, there were like a lot of casual things in the speedrun before I really started to optimize it a lot more. Like there were tricks known, but they weren't being used because people couldn't figure out how to make them fast. There is a skip called prawn skip, which is like he's a boss fight in the game that you can skip by going out of bounds and activating a trigger outside the map. And that was known and it was used in tasks, but nobody could figure out how to get it to work in the run. And I believe Hazel mentioned that Cole tried to make it work at one point, but he couldn't get it to be fast. But then I figured out, well, like if we bring back this old trick that people use in like 2012 and 2013 called Dilemma Skip, which lets you get an early spatula that makes the beginning of the game a little bit slower, but you sacrifice like doing stuff earlier to make the end of the game faster. And then you can switch around like you know blue coins in Mario Sunshine where you can trade them in for shines. There's kind of a similar mechanic in Battle for Bikini Bottom where you get socks and you trade them in for spatulas. So I figured out that if we switch around the socks and collect more spatulas from that earlier on, or we switch around socks that would normally be fast if we did this casual thing that I wanted to route out. I moved some socks around and added the skip and it ended up working. So that was like the first really big contribution that I made to the game, was making this skip work, because it was a really casual and dumb boss fight that just made the game look a lot less serious. And then after that, there was another puzzle mini game type thing that I removed again, which actually recently there was a skip found, clip through the entire thing and skip it, which is really awesome. So back when I first routed this out, I took this stupid puzzle thing and replaced it with one of the fastest and most fun things to watch, which is like the I don't know if you've seen like a full run of the game. It's the part when you're like, there's so we should show clips of some of this stuff if we can, but I guess like I can try to verbalize it. There's just a very movement intensive part in Goo Lagoon where you have to hit these balloon targets, and it was considered to be slow and unviable until I figured out how to do it on Xbox, because like with these version differences, GameCube has different loading properties, so it would work so that you can do this strat on GameCube, but since Xbox is the faster console, it wasn't really thought to be useful. But then I found out that you can, if you start the route on the opposite side of the map, the kids that you have to hit the balloon targets for, they work in such a way that you can just run right through and hit all of them if you meet the cycle. And that was considered to be like a super crazy strat back then, but now like the entire top 20 or 30 is doing it. So the standards have gotten a lot higher since then.
That tends to happen with speedrunning. The more time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like stuff that was crazy back then is now like nothing now.
Exactly. People get better.
Yeah, that was like the second biggest contribution I made to the game, I'd say. A lot of the other stuff I found was just like more practical things, like this is a better spot to activate the cruise boost. This is better movement you can do. Here's an optimization where you can skip a ledge grab. But since 2016, like in 2017, a lot of new people who were interested in finding strats, like Alex97, who's a Dutch runner who picked up this game, and Super Flare Star is another one who's put a lot of time into testing stuff. And he was actually somebody who found a skip that, again, opens up more routing possibilities for the blue coin sock things in the game. So it opens up to like routing some of the slower ones out. So you'd have like socks that were 16, 8 seconds long that would take you to get. But now the fastest route that I'm running, the slowest sock is 4 seconds, because it opened up so many possibilities for finding that strat. Wow. Like what usually happens is like somebody finds a big strat, and then I'm like, okay, how can I make this fast? Like, how can I put it into the game and make it work? So when Flare Star found that strat that opened up the possibilities for the socks, the damage boosting and stuff, I said, okay, well, this can actually be used to remove a load here, and then we can switch these socks around that are slow here. So the routes ended up saving like over 20 seconds or something ridiculous. So it's just more the community building off each other with these strats and stuff that are found. A good example of this is now there was a player, Conquer Hacks, who found a viable clip into the rolling ballroom, which is the puzzle strat that I removed in 2016. He found a way to make it fast again by finding a clip into the ballroom. So when that was found, like people were testing it out and like hopelessly trying to like clip through. So then I got on and I figured out a strat that works every single time. Like I found a setup that works every time. So it was already faster at that point. And then Alex figured out that you could bowl the button that drops the ball immediately from loading into the level. So that saved a little bit of time. And then somebody, I think Axe Center was the guy who found it. he found a way to get the ball to roll to the area where you need to use it to clip in faster. So it's pretty crazy how passionate this community is, that something can be found like instantly, and it just gets optimized just like that, like within a week or so. Like, we thought it was saving like 6 seconds the first night it happened, and now it's up to like almost 25 seconds if you do it perfectly. But obviously, like, it's a very movement-based strat, so it can get faster maybe, but it's also like you're not going to save the full 25 every time unless you're really good.
Right. So when you say setup, I'm not very familiar with the game. Is it anything like Zelda where like you can target a wall at a certain angle, or what are the?
It's like you mean I don't really know too much about Zelda either. Where like you target to line up your position, and okay, it's like that for a lot of tricks in the game. So I always describe this game as like being a very balanced, like the most balanced speed run, where you have like half your run is like more of setups and slow paced, like lining things up pixel by pixel, and then the other half of the run is more movement based, where it's like a Mario game. You string the movements together like dives and stuff. So the first half of the game, so like the first half of the game, think of it like being a child in OT, where you have limited abilities when you first start the game, and then when you grow up to an adult, you can do more things. It's like that, where you have like your 2 main moves that you obtain in the game from beating the boss fights. So there are 3 main boss fights in the game. You have a robot Sandy, a robot Patrick, and then the final boss is a robot SpongeBob. But the first 2 boss fights, Robo Sandy and Robo Pat, when you beat them, you get power-ups that let you do more stuff. So beat Robo Sandy like 20 minutes into the game. That gives you the Bubble Bowl power-up, which is like a projectile move, bowling shot. You can do like, again, with that, you can do some cool like trick shots and stuff like that to save time. And then you have your second power-up that you get from beating Robo Pat like 36 minutes in. And that gives you the cruise bubble, which is like a homing missile attack. You fire it and you can control where it goes. But back in 2013, Hazel found a glitch where you can, if you activate these 2 moves on the same frame, whatever speed you're traveling at that time gets locked into your base speed. So your momentum increases. So that's how we get the idea of cruise boosting, where if you trap your speed when you're sliding against the surface, it doubles your speed, like your movement speed. Now, the thing is about cruise boosting is that it's unique. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in speedrunning before, where you're constantly, if you're not even touching the control stick, you're just being pushed forward. It's like an invisible hand just pushing you forward. So when you're in cruise boost mode, you can't really turn around. The skill ceiling for being able to stand in place even is very high. Like being able to stand still is something that takes a lot of takes a lot of time to perfect that, and also like turning around, because you're constantly being pushed forward, right? And also it's like you play melee simp, right? So you know, like wave dashing, the better an angle you have, the farther you go, right? Pretty much. Yeah. So you have it's similar with cruise boosting, where if you have a better angle against the surface you're doing it on, you get more speed stacked onto your base speed. So there's a skill ceiling for being able to hit both frame perfect inputs to be able to do that. And the game runs at 60 FPS, by the way, so it can be kind of difficult to stay consistent at those things if you're not grinding the game. And then you have your skill ceiling for like the angle you get against the wall to make you go fast. And then you had the movement, which is like something that you have to play this game to be able to get better at it, because it's not really something that really like builds on to anything else you've ever done in speedrunning. It's like a really strange mechanic, but that's why it's so cool. And I saw this mechanic when I first started playing. I'm like, I have to do this. This is so cool. You can just cross all these gaps and stuff that you wouldn't be able to before. It completely breaks the game and opens it up to like all these out of bounds skips and these cool jumps that are used to skip a lot of levels.
The movement in that game, it looks incredible. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really fluent and really fast paced. A lot like Mario. I want
to talk about oh, sorry, what were you saying?
It's simply asked about like if it's related to Zelda in terms of setups, but Zelda's more like pause buffering kind of stuff. You can't really do that in SpongeBob, especially with 60 FPS. Because in SpongeBob,
pausing is one frame as well. When you pause, it comes up on the first frame, and you unpause, it comes up on the next frame.
Oh, all right then.
Yeah, so like menuing that game is really hard too, because when you pause, like you can menu as fast as you can, because it reacts to every frame you press. So if you watch a task, like it just goes. It goes all the way up and skips the entire menu.
Wow.
You can go from like the bottom of the menu all the way up to the top in like not even a second. It's so crazy, because you can menu 30 times per second, because you can go every other frame in a 60 FPS game.
That's crazy.
And because there are no like, I can go more into the one frames in a bit, but I also want to talk about I had the privilege to speak to one of the developers who worked on the game as well.
He is wow.
So like back in the day, I'll give a little history on like how this game came to be. There was a studio called Big Sky Interactive that was given the first license to make a 3D SpongeBob game. And that game is the infamous Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, which is like one of the worst games ever made. I think Pear-Strike has it up on the ballot for the meme run at SGDQ, which I'm really hoping it gets in, because that game is so terrible and it's really funny to watch because of how poorly made it is. It looks like a comp sci project. It's that bad.
Okay.
Yeah, this game is so bad that the PS2 version doesn't even work. The game like consistently crashes on loading screens. There was not a single disc that didn't have that problem. The game was such a disgrace that that it put the studio out of business that made this game. Like, it was that bad. The GameCube version is still barely playable too, with the frame drops, and it's so terrible. It forces you to 100% everything. They really just had no idea what they were doing. It doesn't even feel like unlike BFBB, this game, like the references to the show, it just doesn't feel like SpongeBob. It's like a soulless yellow cube walking around in a desolate world with all the lag and terrible gameplay. It's awful. This game was so bad. I bring this up because this game is so awful that it encouraged Nickelodeon to revoke the license from them and give it to Heavy Iron Studios, which is now known for like working on Disney's Infinity. Some of those people went on to work at Bungie, like on the Destiny series. So these people are like top-notch programmers, but they weren't really known at the time for anything yet. So this is like their big break. Like SpongeBob is coming up in 2002. SpongeBob was in its prime. Like, this is their big chance to really hit it out and make a name for themselves. So what they did was they put so much more time into this game than they had to. And in the year they had to develop it, the guy that I talked to who programmed SpongeBob's movement and the tongue sliding and stuff, like all the really cool mechanics that make this game unique, he put 60-hour work weeks into this game for a year because he loved doing it so much. Yeah. And back in the day, like, people were always like, they'd always talk about like screenshots of the game, like, look at how cool this is. Like, they were really enjoying making it. And it shows too, because they even went out of their way to get the writers from the show to work on the game too. So all the dialogue and the character voice, it's all scripted from people who actually worked on SpongeBob during its prime. That's awesome. So the game ended up just being this I'd call it a masterpiece of a licensed game. It's that good. It's like on par with The Simpsons Hit and Run, if you ever played that one too. That's another really fun game. Yeah, it's a good game. But they put a lot of time into it, and that's why I'd say the movement and like the fact that the frame rate is consistent and the graphics are so nice today, it really shows like it's aged like wine. They put enough work into this game to make it still hold up in 2018. I think that's pretty incredible.
Okay, so we actually never got the like full name of the game. What is it? SpongeBob Battle to Bikini Bottom or something like that?
SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. So the plot of the game is like Plankton makes a bunch of robots and he wants to use them to steal the Krabby Patty formula, but he forgets to switch the switch on the thing that makes them to obey. So they all run amok and they disobey him and they attack Bikini Bottom. So your job is SpongeBob, and it's kind of like I think DK64 you can switch between the characters, right? It's like that, where you can switch between, like, you have Patrick, which is like your heavy lifter character that like throws stuff and stuns characters. And you have Sandy, who's like your long distance platformer that can hover around and cross really large gaps and swing on things. So you can switch between his best friends to stop the robots, and you travel through all these areas that are seen in the show, like Rock Bottom, Sand Mountain. You can even go into SpongeBob's Dream, where you can go into like the Texas level from the show, where they're falling in the Texas skyline, and she falls in the manure. There's an actual level in the game where you slide around in Sandy's Dream and you like dodge trucks of manure. It's so cool. They actually made the show into a game. And you have like all these different levels you go through to collect these golden spatulas that are used to unlock the new levels. So it's like Mario 64. It takes inspiration from that game and like Banjo and like pretty much any other platformer at the time. They took a lot of inspiration, but they added their own twists on it too. Like bungee challenges, you get hooked. You get hooked on a bungee, and you hit targets and stuff to collect things. That's also a cool thing. Also, like the sponge ball mechanic, you can turn yourself into a ball and roll yourself around, and you can like bounce off of walls and stuff and do really cool tricks with that. So you do all these different things. Like, you have all these different mechanics and ways to get through these games. You do until you get to the final fight, which is in the Chum Bucket Lab. And then finally, you have to fight a robot version of yourself that's being controlled by a robot version of Plankton, who's controlling the robots, because Plankton was able to get back into the Chum Bucket and switch the obey sign back to obey. But they're not obeying him, they're obeying Robot Plankton. So then you have to defeat Robot Plankton and the Robot SpongeBob to win the game.
Evil
so that's why, like, the end of the game, the final level is not really a boss fight. It's actually like a platforming level, because you fight the final boss, right? You take down the final boss, and then you get teleported inside of the robot's brain, or like the inside of the robot. So the very final level of the game is you fighting robots and doing platforming inside a giant robot, and you win by destroying the robot's brain and taking it down. So
yeah, just shoot the homing missiles, right?
It's a unique ending to a game. Like, it's not just like you fight the big bad boss and it's over. Like, it's actually a platforming game that
it's
tests
very
your skills and
story, right? It has a very big story in it. It's very story driven in that game.
I like that story.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah, it's a good one. If you haven't played it, it's on GameCube too. Except I don't think that the GameCube version holds up as well, because like GameCube games are all compressed and the audio balancing is weird. But it's still worth the play, I'd say, if you never tried it. It's very fun.
That was loud. Oh my god.
What happened?
No, something. The donation sound.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I usually turn my volume down whenever I do runs.
Yeah,
and I just check my list for stuff.
I usually don't have the desktop audio that's loud, so it was like way louder this time.
Dude, I like it. I was listening through one of our podcasts, and I just hearing the hey in the middle of, and we'll just be in the middle of talking, and we can't address it. So it's just like I like it though. I think it's good to have those sound effects in there.
I just got all my alerts and stuff redone too. I commissioned a guy to make all my layouts and cards and stuff.
Sick.
That's another part too, is like branding your stream, especially as a speedrunner. The one thing I noticed between like Melee streamers, aside from like Mango, Hungrybox, and like Armada, who have a good idea of how to grow their streams. Obviously, Mango is exceptional at it. Like, he has a huge stream.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these Melee players, like the smaller ones who are really good, they don't have very good streams, because they can. I believe part of that is because they can rely on their sponsorships to make them, like, to give them a living, But when you're speedrunning, like, it's very important to establish yourself as a good streamer to continue doing the speedrun stuff. Because if you have a bad stream and you're really good at speedrunning, unfortunately, like, speedrunning, well, it's unfortunate and fortunate, but I'll get into that in a bit. But like, it's unfortunate somewhat that it's not merit pay based, where if you're really good at a speedrun, you don't always get paid for how good you are.
Yeah.
Like, I always reference you, Cheese, when I talk about this. Like, you have like 300 subs or so. Like, for the stuff you do with your game, you deserve at least 1,000. Like, for real though.
Dude, a huge part of it is my emotes, man. My emotes suck.
Yeah, like that's stuff like that's important, Like, it's like people like you, even like the people who are really good at a game, but they're not the best runner, or they're not like streaming a lot. Like, they're not getting paid for what they do either.
There's also the fact that subscribers
subscribers
is also about consistency, and because Mario 64, I've reached a point in Mario 64 where I can't really play that game all the time every day. I have to take breaks, and especially now, like, I play for a few months or a month, take a few weeks off, come back again. There would always be inconsistency, so I always lose subs, have to gain it back, lose subs again, gain it back.
You lose them fast too.
Yeah,
like, they just drop if you're not streaming.
That happens.
I've lost like 150 subs in the past month.
I was at 1,200 subs going to GDQ, and I got back with like 1,000, and then 2 weeks later, all the way back down to 600.
Yeah, that happens.
It just dropped, man. Just being gone hurts so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get more into motivation in speedrunning, like the main topic, I guess. We heard a lot about SpongeBob. We know what the game is like a lot.
Yeah.
So let's get into the outside aspect around the game and around speedrunning. In your eyes, like in your life, specifically, what do you have to say about
I think a lot of the motivation that I have in this game is applied from my history as a distance runner, as I was talking about earlier. Like, I had a coach who, the rule was you run every day. It doesn't really matter how hot or cold it is, you run. If
That's a good coach. He's already a good coach.
You run. If it's 17 degrees out, you run. Like, 17 degrees out, 10 miles straight, you're doing it. And if you do it slowly, then you're not going to get better.
Of course.
So that was his mentality, and I kind of adopted that from him because that's what I was forced to do for 4 years straight. He had a no vacation rule where if you took a day off, you didn't get to run in the next meet. So you had to be there every day. You couldn't take any breaks. Had to do it. And I remember one time it was freezing. Like it was so cold that I had my hat all the way below my eyebrows because my eyebrows were freezing and I could barely see. And a tree branch like whacked back and slammed me right in the nose, and I was bleeding for this whole run. Like I was just bleeding for 10 straight miles in like 17-degree weather, and I was just like, I can't imagine doing that now because it's so crazy. Like back in the day, I was just like brainwashed to do this crazy stuff, and I'm sure I'll be saying the same thing about myself like 5 years from now. Like, wow, I played SpongeBob SquarePants every single day for hours on end for 2 years straight. Like I had not even legitimately taken a break from that game since I started playing.
That's crazy.
I haven't felt the need to either.
Well,
I just played every day
technically I didn't either with Mario until after about 2 years.
Yeah.
But
I still have like a lot of motivation to keep going too. I'm having fun still.
You say that you were brainwashed. Do you mean by like, yeah, so but again, of course, if you actually love what you're doing, then you won't technically be brainwashed. You would be happy because it's what you want to do. So it all depends on it all depends on if you love what you're doing or not.
The thing is about running is that like I liked it because I had a lot of friends who cared about the team, and it's another thing like with SpongeBob too. I've experienced the same thing where when I got on that team, it was awful. Like my sophomore year, we lost a lot of good runners, and we were just like, it was the lowest. My coach said, he straight up said to us, "This is the worst the team has ever been. I hope you guys are happy with yourself," or something like that. Like, well, that's great. So, but that just like that motivated us, and a lot of like the new people coming up, like the freshmen, and I was a sophomore at the time. We wanted to get better, and we got to the point where by the end of the year, we had by the end of my high school career, we had a really consistent mile team. Like our mile times were like all within 10 seconds of each other. I was the weak link with a 4:29, and that's not really that weak of a link, you know. And our best runner had like a 4:20 or something like that. So we were all like really consistent, and it was really cool that we all motivated each other to get better at the sport.
Wow, that's
crazy. I liked that it grew. Like the team grew a lot, and we were able to get more people to join. And some people who like even people came over from soccer and got pretty good too. So it was awesome to like get people passionate about the sport in the school, because like honestly, my high school had terrible sports up until we got good, except for like the softball team was good. But as far as like male sports go, our football team was an embarrassment. Like we were the homecoming pick every single time for all the teams in New Jersey because our team was so bad. So the running was like really cool because it was something that our school could finally like look at and be like, you know what, we have like really good athletes now. And that's something we didn't really have for a lot of my high school. It's like we weren't really proud of our athletics, but it was something that I could look back and be like, it's really cool that not only because like running is not really that accepted of a sport in high school. It's like, oh, you run for fun. It's the same thing as like speed running. Like, oh, you play the game every day. How do you have fun doing that? It's like the same obnoxious shit. So I honestly feel like my experience running has really translated a lot over to speed running as well. It feels almost the same, except it's like I'm running the show, like it's my stream. I get to do like my own artistic take on it with like I do this thing called like meme runs where I pick a really terrible game, I put a timer on the screen, and we just like mess around and like play audio clips from like memes and stuff. It's a really good fundraiser for the stream, but it's also a lot of fun because we just joke around the whole time. And it's a nice break like every once in a while from the constant grind. Right. I actually have another one coming up. I did for a sub goal. I'm playing like the Mario Party equivalent of SpongeBob. It's called Lights Camera Pants, and it's actually a 9-hour speed run because the 100% run of the game, you have to beat the story mode 3 times to unlock everything. And it's a really good game casually, but as a speed run, it's terrible. It's not a speed game. It's a complete meme. I'm gonna be dying when I actually play that again. I've done it more than once too, but people just like they love the humor and like
they just love the streamer, suffering.
That's how you can do stuff like that to grow your audience too. Is like ultimately it comes down to like people love the Mario runs and stuff, but people ultimately like they're here for you. And I think that people, the sooner they realize that, it's like even if you're not performing well, this is something like that I struggle with too, because when I'm not performing well, I get really down on myself and I feel terrible about it. But ultimately got to realize that like people are here for you and they want to see you.
It's hard to realize that too. It takes time to really.
It's also like with it's like with you and Mario. They want to see you and Mario together. But after a while, like if you find like other ideas, like if you get like, I'll tell you like this, the meme run idea. When I first had that idea, I was just like, I'm not sure if this is gonna work. It's probably a bad idea. I had like these joke fake gamer glasses that I put on as like one of the gags in it. But I'm like, this is such a terrible idea. I'm just gonna be a clown. But people love it, and I don't know, if you get a really good idea, like sometimes the ideas that you feel like are the worst, they end up being the best. It's weird like that. The things you're unsure about sometimes work out.
Right.
So I'd say like definitely taking risks for your stream, especially as a speedrunner. I understand like the consistency and like playing smart. Like that's all stuff that's important when you're in the runs. But again, like taking risks with how you run your stream is also really like important to do, I think, because with speedrunning, people expect the same thing every day, you know. They expect you to do the same category every day, practice. But I think it's really fun when you can like mix it up and be like, hey, today we're gonna just like joke around and do this thing after we do runs. You know, it's like you have your serious time and then you supplement it with your fun time. And that's how you really get people to appreciate the stream more and your personality.
Agreed. And do you think that doing that, like having them stem from sub goals, do you think that's a good way to use sub goals? Do you think sub goals are pretty important?
Yeah, I believe so. If you can meet them and make time for them. The thing is with sub goals is that like, especially lately, because I've been so motivated to play battle, is that I usually have the sub goal and I say, okay, once we meet the sub goal, after my next PB, we're gonna do this. So I'm still motivated to beat my time. And then once I do that, I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I got the 57.08 like 2 days ago, and we played Mario Kart, and it was a lot of fun because you had the pressure off. That's another thing too, is if you wait until after you've relieved that pressure, you have so much more fun doing it with your chat. And again, like that's something you can't fake. Take it from me, you can never fake like emotion on your stream because people, it's very obvious.
No, people eat it up.
When you're not happy, yeah, people can tell when you're not happy.
Of course.
I don't even try to hide it. Like I get mad, I get sad, I get excited. Like it doesn't bother me if people see how I actually feel, because there's no point in hiding anyway. It seems more pathetic if like I watch a streamer like who's obviously not happy with themselves and they're forcing themselves to do something and like, oh, that's okay. Like I just lost my run to RNG. I lost the run to RNG. I lost my run to making a really dumb mistake late in the game. That's funny. Let's just go again, guys. And like you can see like the smile just slowly fades away from their face. You see what they're actually feeling. And it's just, you're just like, this guy's just trying to impress his viewers. I don't know. I can't do that. I have to just be real the whole time.
Yeah, I'm the same exactly.
It's so stressful too. Like you're spending. We have a limited amount of attention that we can give to things like that, especially if you're speedrunning. Like if you're trying to focus on playing the game as best as you can, especially with like such an optimized game like Mario 64. Like you can't fake it. I know like I'm not speaking to you personally, Cheese. I know you're one of the people who like you're perfectly fine with showing how you feel. And that's what I really admire about you too, is that you can do that, even when people are like being shitters about it. We can talk about like the chat stuff, like keeping your chat under control later, because I know we wanted to simply mention we want to talk about that too. But like, I think that being able to express yourself and being comfortable with it in a constructive way, because a lot of times when you get mad, like when I say you, I mean like me. Like when I get mad, it's not that I'm giving up or I'm letting myself get tilted. I'm just letting it out. I'm just letting myself express it so I can move on.
I mean,
like last night, I got really, really furious at this game because I was on a run that was -15, leaving that frame perfect trick all the way at the end. That's entirely field based, you know, fast nut. You probably heard of it. I was -15 and I had a 4:16 Dutchman split, which was improved by like 13 seconds. So I'm like, this is it. Like I'm gonna get a really good run and I'm gonna be able to do 100% for a little bit. But I just got so distracted with like, this is finally it, that I don't know why I just choked the whole thing, and I was so upset. But I took like, I tried doing another run, and I was so frustrated that I couldn't even play. So I just stopped for like 5 minutes. I just gave myself like, okay, chill out, like just think about what you're doing and play. And then the very next attempt I beat my time by 7 seconds, I think, right? Yeah, 7. So like sometimes like just stopping and like expressing yourself and then just thinking about what you're doing. Because if you just blindly like shout and yell and you lose your control, like you have to be able to bring it back if you're gonna do that. So I think anything that you do has to be for like a reason. Right. You have to have some handle of control. Sometimes it's okay to lose control, but as long as you know how to bring it back, like that's the important thing. Just moving forward. Because the next day, if you're thinking about that run you lost, like that's over. Like that's not here anymore. There's nothing you can do about it. What is like thinking about it in terms of like, what can I learn from this experience is more important than just saying, I lost this run. I could have done this. I could have done that. Because as soon as I let go of it, which was obviously really hard because that was the first good pace that I've gotten past that trick in like, 5 months, 6 months.
Oh damn!
I've been getting decent runs that have been constantly PBing because like I can't seem to get a really good run that passes that trick. So I finally got it. I'm just like, this is it. And then I lost control. But then I took it back and I said, okay, you need to think about what you're doing. Go back in this run, do it again. And I nailed all the frame perfect tricks, and I ended up beating my time by a little bit. So that's also important too, is like control is a big part of motivation as well. Too much control feels like you're becoming a slave to your game though. I remember there was a runner, by the way, no shade. I love this guy. Konosumi used to run this game, and he would never get mad on stream. He would never get mad ever. Like he was always completely tame, and he'd lose a run. He'd be like, "Oh, dude, that sucks. Oh well." Like you knew inside he was just like, "I can't deal with this shit anymore."
Right.
So he burned out really quickly because I think in part that he just wouldn't let himself like express like how frustrating this game is, because I have not seen a single person who runs this game not get mad or frustrated or be like, "Fuck this shit. I hate this." It's a really frustrating game.
That's a really good
like
point.
Seeing something like that is just like, there's no way he's going to be able to keep this up forever.
That's a really good point that you made though, with getting with too much control and like never getting mad or just getting rid of your emotions like that you could get burnt out really fast. I think that's a really true point, because I thought about that too, but I wasn't sure about it. But I think it's really true, where a lot of people that never just try to stay calm, force themselves to stay calm all the time, they get burnt out a lot faster, and they one day arrives and they're just like, their body physically and mentally can't do it anymore. And then they just like, nah, it's not worth it. I'm just getting too mad, and I'm too scared to express my madness. So I'm just going to stop playing now. I can't handle it anymore. But when
just like goes on to the topic of fear as well, and insecurity. Like being afraid to express yourself is also, if you're even a little bit insecure, like it's toxic, like it just spreads. If you feel insecure about one thing, you start feeling insecure about yourself and your runs, your tricks that you're doing. You'll end up missing things that you practice for hundreds of hours if you're just a little bit insecure about it. Like the most important thing going into that trick at the end of the run, it's 50 minutes in. Fast nut is like a movement based trick where there's no good visual cue for it. You just have to feel the frame. You have to know where that 1/60th of a second is, and if you miss it, you lose 20 seconds and your run's dead.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's really
well. You lose 20 seconds
because you jump over this huge gap to even begin the trick in the first place. So you're all in. Like there are no brakes on the train. You're going. That trick is coming, and you're gonna have to hit that frame or you die. There's no way around it. So you're just going over that gap and seeing like all the it's such a huge pit that you're about to fall into. You have to hit that frame or you're done. So just like being able to go over there, like if you're even a little bit doubtful, if you're like, there's a possibility I missed this trick. Like that's another thing too about like protecting your ego when you speedrun too, that I'll get into off of this as well. Like if you're 100% confident that you're going to get it, and then you get it, it makes you feel really good about yourself. And you're like, I knew I was going to get it. I'm a god. But then if you miss it, you're just like, I'm so stupid. I suck. Like how did I miss that? I was so sure of myself. So like you're running a risk. Like not only are doing that trick, are you running the risk of actually like losing your run, but you're also running the risk of hurting your ego as well and your confidence. So if you're 100% sure, which is like absolutely necessary to do this thing, if you're 100% sure of yourself, like I'm going for this specific frame, and you miss it, you just feel like shit, and you're just like,
I think that's like the worst feeling you can get. Yeah, when you're so confident and you miss it anyway.
And you have to be too.
You just feel like, you know, like the whole world is against you. Like, how the hell could I have missed that? But if you're unconfident, inconfident, I don't even know. Yeah, if you're not confident in what you're gonna do, and you don't pull it off, it's like, okay, well, that was my fault. I'm stupid. So
but how can you be successful if you're gonna constantly feel like you're gonna miss it? You know.
Right.
But that's why, like, it's so stressful doing tricks like that and hard things in games. Like, the harder stuff you add to your run, the more you're giving yourself the opportunity to fail. And because you need to be so confident to do these extremely precise tricks that are, like, if you're even a frame off, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it's the ultimate form of just like, I believed in myself and I couldn't do it.
So is the run really over?
Feel the frame. Yeah.
Is the run really over if you miss that frame perfect trick? Like, if you can't
at this moment in time, because that huge skip was found, fortunately, there are still some really good runs that I can get that miss that trick and still PB. I've only PB'd missing fast nut once, and that was the 57.08 that I just got.
Right. Okay. But, it loses. So it loses 20 seconds. So
yeah.
But if you're not really top level, of course, it doesn't really matter that much. Or you won't even do that trick in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Nobody, trust me, like nobody wants to fuck with that. It's really, it's like torture, because you're 50 minutes in, you have a good run going, you miss the trick and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, torture is
just the ultimate form of like not being attached to your runs. That's another thing too, is like, I know you've talked about this as well. Like, a run can die at any time. You can't be attached to it. And this is the ultimate form of like, not only, I'd say that the harder part of this is not just learning how to not be attached to your runs up until this trick, but after you get the trick, not becoming attached after it, because then you'll play like shit because you're like, I had this in the bag, you know? Because it's so easy that once you get that trick, you're just like, I have to close this out. Like, I'm not going to get this again for like a week. So you're thinking to yourself, I can't let this slip. It's harder.
That's where all the nerves come from.
Exactly, because that's where it starts. Where you're just like, it's just learning to not get attached after you do something successful. Like, sometimes that's more important than being able to detach yourself before it happens. You just have to look at it objectively. Like, I got this trick, I'm gonna do what I practice. You know, I say preach what you practice, because if you practice something, you got to preach it. You got to do it. If you're gonna do an easy strat, like, I love referencing like Nindide's 11440, where he went for like he lost a lot of runs to something he'd been practicing, and he went for an easier version of the strat, and he didn't get it because I guess part of that was like he wasn't confident in it and he hadn't been practicing it. So in a lot of cases, you're more likely to get the harder strat if you've been practicing it.
Yeah, of course.
So when people ask me like, why don't you go for Texas Sponge Glide if you're on a run that's minus 25? Well, obviously that's like an extreme case because that never fucking happens. But the game's too optimized. But, like, people ask me like, if you could PB without doing fast nut, would you do it? I'm like, no, because that's 15 seconds that I worked my ass off to save.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's what it comes.
You want to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Over the summer, it took me. Because, like, I was the first person to start doing it in runs. It was a task strat before I started doing it. So I had to find like a mentally like consistent way of looking at this trick and doing it and just feeling how it works. So I would spend like 5 hours a day just doing that one trick, and I've almost passed out on stream playing so much of that level. It's just like, it's like highway hypnosis. You keep doing it to get yourself into the mode of not thinking. So when your brain shuts down in the run, or you shouldn't do that. If your brain happens to shut down, you want to be able to do it off of muscle memory, but you want to think. You want to think when you're doing it, but it's hard to think without overthinking. So it's just like the right balance. It's very steady. It's like a good balance you need to have when you go over that gap, and it's just nerve wracking. There's so much distance you have to cross because, like, again, this game is like frightening at times with some of these tricks because it has, in my opinion, the best damage boost.
You're just terrified.
People say that cruise boosting is like the main thing. Like, cruise boosting and levitation are the things that make BFBB what it is. But I think it's the damage boost where you set something up and get launched over a huge gap. That's like, because you get launched so far when you get hit by something, because he's like a little sponge, you know, like you hit him and he goes flying. So you can just hurt yourself to get launched places. That's like the coolest part of the game, but it's also like the most nerve-wracking part of the game is you have this huge gap to cross, and if you don't set it up perfectly, in some cases you're just done. You can't make it, and then every single one of those is punishable by death. It's brutal.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that are in SpongeBob and all its tricks, and being a 60 FPS game, that sounds really scary indeed. I'm so interested.
People probably struggle with is the constant thought in the back of your head, why am I putting so much time into a SpongeBob game, people, I swear that's something
the inevitable question everybody has to ask themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure people think about that, what am I doing with my life? Why am I playing this SpongeBob game that nobody cares about? But I think that's getting better now because people do care about it now, and that people are appreciating how cool the run is and how challenging it is. More people are picking it up. It's definitely a harder than it looks game because a lot of the stuff looks very simple, but you wouldn't, unless you tried it for yourself, you wouldn't be able to see.
The question is though,
how weird it is.
When you started playing SpongeBob, did you have those thoughts like, why am I gonna play a SpongeBob game? Why am I choosing SpongeBob? Did you have those thoughts?
Oh, I think everyone has it just a little bit, but I always felt like, because I love the game so much and it's something that was really cool to me. I started with this a really small stream too. Again, when I started streaming because my laptop had such low capacity, I couldn't record my runs on my disc, so I had to stream them. And then people happened to start liking the stream that it was just raw gameplay with horrible audio balancing and rainbow colored splits. It was terrible. It was one of the worst streams on Twitch. But people loved watching the game, so I started opening up more and showing my face and improving the quality and the frame rate, the contrast of the video. That's another thing too, is the presentation to make it
quality of stream is very important.
Huge. Chess pixel, right?
We had that topic with Mr. Llama, and he talked about the same thing in the 3rd episode of the podcast, where he talked about quality of stream is so important for building a community and really encourages people to watch, and then after they watch a while, then they start wanting to try the game out.
Yeah, that's happening now. People who have watched this game for 2 years or so, they're saying, I can't believe I'm finally playing this now after watching it for 2 years.
Right.
That's how how long do you think Mario has been streamed for? How streaming hasn't been around for that long, right?
Since Justin TV was out, since Twitch was out, Mario 64 was a thing. Sigilemic was streaming when Twitch came out.
And people just love the game so much they just keep playing it, and people keep growing onto it and watching these streams.
Yeah,
it's the cycle,
That's why it has the most runs on speedrun.com.
I can't see. I think Odyssey's starting to die out a little bit in terms of growth.
It's definitely not as high as before, but I think it makes sense too. I mean, the Odyssey is not gonna keep growing as it was when it came out. That would be kind of impossible. It will die down in terms of growth because it's
think the game's there's not enough passion behind it, like you see with Mario 64.
Because it's a new game, I think though. I think that's a huge factor why.
It's a hype game.
Yeah, but we'll see in the future how it goes, if it actually remains as the top speed game.
I think I would guess that maybe long down the road, 5 or 10 years from now, if speedrunning is still a thing, people are going to be nostalgic for it and go back to it, and then it'll become one of the things that people just can't detach themselves from, because nobody's right now it's just a fun thing people play. But Mario, I'm sure you guys all grew up with that game. It's something you love and you hold close to your identity. That's something that people again, the viewers as well, they want to see this game. And sometimes you'll notice people say they watch the game not because of the movement, not because of you or anything. They just they feel attracted to the game because it's part of them, it's something that they grew up with and they know very closely. They don't know why they want to watch it, but they just do. And I think that SpongeBob is also another one of those games, not nearly to the same scale, of course, because the game only sold it sold 500,000 copies on Xbox, and a million on, it's 1.5 million on PS2 and 1 million on GameCube. It sold a lot of copies, but not anywhere near to the scale of that game. But it does have a cult following for sure, and people are more people are discovering it now. If you know who Ray Brownman is, he's a really big streamer, also a friend of mine on Twitch. He did a playthrough of that game and he loved it. Fire Dragon did it, and he's he even said himself, I didn't know what to expect going into this game, and I ended up loving it. I never really talked to somebody who played this game and said they didn't like it. It's pretty weird. I guess if you like SpongeBob as a kid, that's also part of it.
I want to play the game. SpongeBob was my favorite show as a child, and when I watched the game, it's wow, this is so cool watching a SpongeBob game.
Yeah.
I think I would definitely really enjoy it as well.
That's a game where if you play it casually, you're gonna appreciate the speedrun a lot more because there are a lot of tricks.
That always happens,
skips. Yeah, but like especially with this game, it's like unlike anything you've seen with how broken it is because there's a skip like every 20 seconds or something like that. It's so crazy. It's because like especially with cruise boosting, you're breaking the entire game. The developers didn't expect you to be able to jump all these gaps and like again like you have like your moves like your uppercut move, your ground pound move, but like what you can do with these moves once you have cruise boosting is when you press these buttons like the uppercut move, you're still being pushed forward, so it's like a super jump. Your uppercut that you normally stand in place with, like that you bash up on, that's like now your super jump move, and now like your dives in Mario. When you do your ground pounds in that game, when you have cruise boosting active, you get more distance as you're like ground pounding. So as you're being pushed, like the ground pound starts here, and then the ground pound ends here. It gives you like a little bit more space to jump gaps. So see like I can show you possibly a clip of this if you want to put it on the stream.
Yeah,
it's a good example of how you string movement together in this game. I'll just
hit me with it.
Yeah, let me find.
I have to figure out a way to show it on stream.
Rock Bottom Museum is a really good segment to show.
You could probably just flip, like make a new layout and then just window capture that, and then we could flip back. Or you could just lay it on top of the layout. That would probably, if you have another, room to do that.
I'll show you like some movement that's like pretty typical for.
Let me open this
before you have cruise boosting. Like what the game is like before you can do that stuff.
Okay, so this clip we're watching, this clip you sent me right now, what exactly is it about?
Oh, you should watch the one that I just sent first.
Right. Yeah, I just got it on Discord. Wait, which one is it?
The one that I just sent just now. Like I sent 2 of them.
So you want me to watch the second one first?
The second one first, yeah. That's what the game's like before you have the cruise boost exploit.
Okay. It's the video with the 5701, right?
Yeah, I took a timestamp from it.
Right, 427. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
All right, so like, I'll wait for it to show up on the stream just so I can see what you're looking at.
All right. I'm watching it right now, baby.
Yeah, you can probably get like a transition slide eventually with like the.
I love the music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the music is great. They took a lot of time on it for sure. There's another thing too, like it's lighthearted and it feels like a SpongeBob game too. So this is what you're doing before you have cruise boosting. You only have the ability to like slam on stuff and just like jump around. It's still platform intensive, but it doesn't look nearly as impressive. So you have like a very slow speed as well. You just kind of walk around. You press buttons. I missed that one. That's kind of that's something you get tripped up on sometimes, hitting those buttons, because sometimes you don't go completely over them. All right, you can. That's all we need to see from there.
Okay.
And then you can look at the first clip that I sent you.
The one with 3857 stamped.
Yeah.
Okay. It's up.
But yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect from like a normal, typical platformer game. You're just walking around, hitting buttons and stuff. So this is now with cruise boosting. So you'll see the first thing I do when I enter the museum here is I do the cruise boost, the double frame perfect trick on this wall, which I missed actually. So I'm gonna do a sick recovery strat. You're gonna see I'm gonna bounce off the I'm gonna damage boost up to the tire.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's the recovery strat if you miss it. So now I gotta do another one over here.
So you can stack 2 of them or what?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is when I do it the first time, I'm stacking the speed of walking into the wall, and then when I do it the second time, I'm stacking the speed of walking to the side.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. So your speed after that when you start moving is faster. It's like double the speed.
Yeah, and now watch how I got the spatula. I'm not in control there. Like the game's pushing me forward.
Yeah.
Because
There's something like this in Mario too.
Yeah, whatever way you're facing, the game forces you into that direction.
Okay, it's actually okay. It's like Mario, but it's actually the opposite. When you build up speed, where you're facing, you go the opposite direction.
Yeah, that's with
like
long jumps. Like owls, right? How you get into the cage. You bounce up the opposite way and you.
No, I meant like in the sense of. Can I pause the video now or?
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you just let it run, it's gonna show you more like it's gonna show you more of the movement stuff. Here's the damage coming up actually.
I'll let it run.
The damage boost later.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Oh,
this used to be frame perfect, but Alex97 found a setup to make it like really simple.
Nice.
That's one of the smaller ones too. Fast Nut is a huge one because you have all the speed from cruise boosting and the damage boost, and you also have like when your camera turns down on you, you also get more speed too, with camera manipulation.
Okay.
So
but you
see how like I'm doing the ground pounds here to get more distance.
Right. Okay.
Maybe I did it here. I'm not sure if I did it here, but they're like in the museum area. You can see it if you go back a little bit to the part that I time-stamped. You can see how like I used the ground pound to get on top of the light bulb to get up to the ledge with the sock. So you can use it to string things together. And the ground pounding in this game also has a unique property where like some of the smaller objects, if you slam on them, you don't get stuck to the ground. Like you don't squish on the ground like normally a ground pound would do. It's like a ground pound, but if you slam on a really small object, it pops you back up, so you can like bounce around with it. And that's why it works in the museum, where if you do the little ground pound on the light bulb, it pops you back up, so you can get up to the ledge. So there is some like you have to when you run this game, you have to know like which areas you're bouncing on and what they do to you. So like if you slam on one object, you might get stuck to the ground and slide off, but other ones, you'll bounce off a little thing and you'll gain control immediately. So it's a lot about knowing the level design too. You have to know your surroundings.
I'm watching.
What you're watching right now is the new skip that was found, by the way.
Right.
The ballroom.
Yeah. Crazy.
So what I'm doing here is I got a cruise boost to make myself face into the case, and then I use the momentum of the ball to push me in. So that skips an entire stupid puzzle thing. You have to like, you get the ball on the tracks, and you have to go through all these little puzzles. It's really dumb and super casual.
Wow.
But yeah, this is the part that you're about to see kids, which is the balloon thing I was talking about earlier, where you get the cruise boost and then you meet the cycle to hit the kids.
So right now, okay, you'll see it soon, but you just did the what's it called? Cruise
boosting.
Cruise boost. And you got the extra speed, but it's a speed, how long does it last for? The extra speed.
Until you get damage, or if you use a bubble bolt to cancel it. So it's or also if you leave the level. If you leave the level, die.
Wow, so you just keep the speed throughout the entire.
Yeah, it stacks on, and it's like stays there until you get hurt.
Even if you stop moving, you still have the speed if you keep moving again.
Yeah, if you stop moving your control stick, the game just keeps pushing you forward. Like watch when I get the next spatula. Like you'll see, like when I collect the spatula, I'm not in control. The game's pushing me as I'm moving, like as I'm just like sitting there.
That's so broken.
Pretty much like in NG Plus especially, there are some strats where if you angle your control stick in a way where like you're facing a direction that can push you toward your next objective, you kind of like rely on the game. Like, okay, I'm betting that this angle that I'm facing right now is gonna push me in a place that one won't kill me and two will save me time. So you see, like when I got that spatula, how I get like closer and closer to the camera until I go up those stairs. That's not me actually moving. The game's just pushing me in that direction.
I was about to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. And broken.
Yeah, but it really is like, not even with the cruise boosting stuff too. Like just the gaps you can cross in this game are insane. Without it, just with the damage boosting too. SpongeBob's Dream has a lot of them. If you want to skip to I think like 50 minutes, you'll see Fast Nut.
Ooh, I want to see Fast Nuts. 50 minutes.
Fast Nut. You have one frame you have 3 frames before the frame where it comes out. So you have to time the 1 frame button press, and you can't. Well, for that particular trick, you actually can mash, but mashing is unfavorable because, again, in a 60 FPS game, mashing isn't going to really help you too much.
All right, so let me get this straight. Fast Nut, exactly what does that mean? Because I'm watching this stuff, I don't really know what to.
Okay, so in Sandy's Dream, you have to go through a slide to get all the way to the end of the objective. It's like a 3-minute slide, super casual. You have to go across the Texas slide to finish Sandy's Dream, and then the spatula you get is on top of a giant acorn at the end of the level.
Oh, so did you already do it yet, or?
No, I'm about to do it.
Oh, okay.
Sandy's Dream. When I walk into the tree dome in SpongeBob's Dream.
Oh, here we go. So you're Sandy right now.
Pictures of Squidward.
It's set up like a hub inside of a hub. you go into the dream world from the original hub, and then you have like other worlds stemming off. That's like something unique about this game that I really like about it for its time, is that it added like hub worlds within hub worlds. It's so cool. But yeah, here we go. It's Fast Nut.
I just saw it, yeah.
And you cross that huge gap to the objective. And you can see like all the Texas slides like wrapping around the map. It takes so long to get through here casually. But you just use that frame
oh my god,
to cross the gap. Yeah,
it's funny actually. I want to watch it again. I see.
But it's so hard to like do that and just be like, all right, cool. I got it.
I could see. Yeah, I could see your face right now. Like there's like a tiny smile in your face. Like, oh my god, yes, thank God. You're kind of acknowledging, okay, I just did it. But at the same time, you're trying to stay really, really calm.
Exactly, yeah. Because after that, like you still have to do so many cruise boosts and.
Right.
I mean, even though like cruise boosting is a more muscle memory trick than a reaction-based or a field-based trick, like you run up, you press the buttons at the same time. It's still pretty easy to fail it if you're under a lot of pressure. Because like, you've seen what an OG Xbox controller looks like, right? Oh
Big
man,
old
they're awful.
Right.
And that's what you use, right?
Yep, you have to. Because also like modifying your console to play with another one is considered to be an unfair advantage.
Okay.
We want people to be like, it has to be accessible as possible. It'd be a clear advantage if you could use like a 360 controller or like even a GameCube controller, because the notches would help you position yourself for the angles and stuff. That's why like wave dashing in Melee is so good, because you have your notches to help you figure out where you need to wave dash. Yeah. The Xbox controller does not have any notches, and the game's really, really sensitive too. Like every tiny little flick you do takes it moves you a shit ton. So if you go to like I think 11, if you go to like 12 minutes in that run, you'll see Sponge Glide, and I don't know how quickly I got it, but like you'll see me like flicking the stick around trying to get this angle, because the game is super sensitive, and also like because there are no notches, it's really hard to get yourself in the right position to do a lot of these tricks.
Right.
So imagine like OOT, but like you can't use your grappling hook to like slowly position yourself to like look in the right direction for the setup. You just have like you face forward, you move left or right. You like put yourself in the right like position on the ground to be able to do this damage boost in the beginning of the run called Sponge Glide. And yeah, stuff like that is really hard to do in this game and get used to, because
it's a lot like Mario, where instead of like looking at your angles and stuff to do setups and stuff, it's just basically, how do I say this?
Field based.
Using you're feeling the right angle on the controller to
you just have to feel it.
And it's a lot easier in Mario because notches. Like I don't know, dude. Doing a game without notches, that seems really hard. Like Mario, every single angle it's either a notch or you are like, okay, it's just slightly right of this notch. So it's not that hard to figure.
It's also a feel thing too.
You have like the camera that you press, like it angles it the same way every time. Yeah, SpongeBob, it's like the camera is super sensitive. The movement's really sensitive too. Like when you watch a runner play this game for the first time, they're like wobbling back and forth and trying to walk in a straight line because there are no notches. And you also have like every tiny little movement you do is taken into consideration. You just like wiggle around and stuff. And it looks really sloppy too. Like that's why watching somebody play the game casually is so hard if you watch a speedrun, because the speedrunners have perfected walking like forward, and especially with cruise boosting where you're being pushed all over the place. Yeah. Like it's really hard to maintain that control, and just like when you're running forward with a cruise boost, you're actually like going all over the place to make yourself face the right direction.
That does look crazy. And like when I was watching just now, it's like sometimes I didn't even know when SpongeBob was gonna land, but like you were like pressing buttons even though it looked like he didn't even land yet, but he would jump after anyway. Like you just knew. It looks so muscle memory and feel based.
It is. A lot of it is, but there's also like a little bit of RNG in the game where it's not like Sunshine where you fucking get a bad PD and you lose like 30 seconds or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like King Boo where you lose like 20 or whatever. The game has like a few instances where you can lose like up to 5 seconds if you perform badly. So like you have like your combat sections in the game too, where you enter the tree dome or the Krusty Krab and you have a bunch of robots you have to clear. So you got to clear the stage to get the reward. And the spawns are different every time. Like you have to react to the different spots where they can land and have like different backup plans for depending on like where the robots spawn. So part of that is like getting a consistent segment, even though you don't know what you're gonna get dealt every time. So it's RNG, but it's not RNG in a sense where like, oh, I have to reset my run because I lost like 30 seconds. But it's more of like you have to be able to react and pay attention to what you're doing in a lot of the segments. But then there are some like muscle memory segments where some frame perfect tricks are more muscle memory, others are more reaction based. Fast nut is one where it balances out, where like fast nut, if you miss it, you can't tell if you were too early or too late, but it's the same animation every time. However, because the animation is so shitty and you just spin all over the place, and it's so bright, it's hard to see what you're doing. It's mostly feel based. But the other frame perfect jumps, we call them triple jumps, because you can do 2 jumps in this game. You can do your first jump and your second jump in midair. But if you get damage boosted, there's 1 frame between your hurting animation and your falling animation where you can do any grounded move. So you can do it on a slide as well. That's why fast nut works, because you can do a bash, which is normally a grounded move you can't do on a slide. You do that on the slide, and it launches you across. So with your damage boost,
you're still boosting from cruise boosting.
Yeah, you're boosting from not only just that. Like, the thing is about fast nut is like you can still do boosts on slides without a cruise boost, but what makes fast nut so fast is that you get a cruise boost and then you damage boost. So you just go like, it's like the fastest movement in the entire run. You just launch straight across because you have the power of cruise boosting and damage boosting combined with the slide movement. But with regular damage boosting, you also have like in the beginning of the run, like 2 minutes in, hammer skip is another frame perfect damage boost, where you manipulate a robot to go on top of a cliff and you jump on its head, and that makes the game say, okay, the last place where you were standing is up on this robot's head. So you jump in the goo and it hurts you and you get launched back to it, because the game's like, okay, if you get hit by goo, if you jump in the water or whatever, it pushes you back to where you were before. So say like this is your cliff, you're on the robot's head, you jump down, and the game sends you back up this way. But the cliff you need to get up to is here. So if you don't do anything special after that, you'll go back on top of the robot's head. But the cliff is up here. So as you're going up, like SpongeBob does a little thing where he goes, ow, or ouch. So he gets hurt, right? So there's 1 frame after that animation where you can jump or do a bubble bash, which is the helmet thing. You can do any.
That's like your uppercut or what?
Yeah, your uppercut or just jumping. So you get hurt in this situation, you do a jump. So he goes, ow. And then you input the button on 1 frame, which by the way, you can't mash this, because if you mash, you have to know where the frame timing is, because if you mash A to get this, he'll do a jump and then he'll do a double jump after that, so you get no height, right? Because even if you do get the frame, he'll just do them both like so quickly together. It's not going to push you anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're up here, you time the button to jump on the 1 frame, so you get 1 jump, and then you get your second jump because you were able to do a grounded jump in midair. It's a lot easier to see what's going on if you watch the video, though. If you skip to like 2 minutes in, you can see that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward once you see it.
That's awesome. Wow. After watching those videos or those clips.
So we do that.
It's legit, dude. SpongeBob looks really hard.
We do that a bunch of times in the run. Like, we do those frame perfect jumps. Lately, non-frame perfect steps have been found for some of them, but I'm still doing 6 of them, including fast nut. And there's a 7th one that I am going to add once I optimize the time from the new ballroom clip, because like I have 25 extra seconds to work with if I play perfectly, which doesn't always happen, but it's still there to work with. So if I improve my time by that much, then I'll probably start doing the other one again. But Dream, that's like one in Dream. It's absolutely brutal, because you have to do 1 frame perfect jump, and then like 10 seconds later you got to do another one, and both of them are punishable by death. So they're really hard to stay consistent with sometimes. It's just like one after the next.
And it's really 1 frame. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's a true 1 frame. Yeah, I forgot to mention that with these damage boosts, not fast enough, because it's the spin animation, like when he swings his bubble wand around, that's the same number of frames every time. For these damage boosts, like hammer skip, you have 5 different animations that can happen, and each of them have different frame timing. So you have to be able to react to which one he does. It's like sometimes he stretches his arms out, sometimes he like swings his head back. They all have different frame timings, so you have to practice a lot to be able to memorize what the frame timing is for each one, react to it when he gets hurt, and then press the button on that frame to get the next jump. Now, hammer skip, if you miss that one, it's 4 seconds, but it's in the beginning of the run, so you don't usually want to miss that. It's annoying to lose 4 seconds that early in the run. But then there are other ones like Fast Buck, which is like the biggest skip in the game. It's an alternate method for SpongeBob storage, which lets you skip the second boss fight. But luckily, because the game like it has a concrete code where you cannot enter. The trigger to enter the final boss fight does not appear until you have 75 spatulas. It's not like Mario where like you can BLJ all the way up to the final fight and do 0 stars. Like you have to actually get all the spatulas. You have to get 77. Well, you have to get 75 out of 100 in the game to be able to get to the final fight.
It just spawns at that point. There's no like loading zone.
You go up to the door. There's like a lock on the door that says 75, and then when you get to it, if you have that amount, the game says you can go in. So you can't just like, it's not like an infinite staircase where you can just BLJ up it. You have to actually have the number, because like the game is so broken, but because that one thing is so concrete and you can't get past it, it makes it good because you can skip the second boss fight, but you have to go back for everything else to complete it later. That's what's cool about it, because like you have half the game you don't have cruise boosting, the other half of the game you do. So you save certain things for later and do some things earlier because it's faster to do them later with cruise boosting, and it's still kind of fast to do other things without it. So the routing in the game is really hard. As I was saying before, with like the child versus adult link thing, you have to route the game in such a way that like you're not doing the absolute fastest things as early as you can do them. You're not doing the absolute fastest things in the later game, but you have the right balance of both things to be able to make it as fast as possible collectively. So as I was saying with Fast Buck, that's a frame perfect alternative to the other skip that's used to skip the second boss fight. And if you miss that frame perfect jump, it costs you 15 seconds, which is rough. That's a quarter of a minute.
Right.
So that's a pretty big reset point for me. But it's a world record only strat, so nobody like I tell people all the time, like, you should never be afraid of running the game just based off the strats that I do, because I'm doing like such advanced like frame perfect shit because my time is so optimized. Like, you should never let that discourage you for any speed game, really. Like, especially like if people watch the stuff you're doing, Cheese, like I'm sure like some people be like, this is too hard, I can never do this. But I encourage people to watch like people around their skill level, or like
it's actually
like,
the opposite. When they look at us play, they think, oh, that doesn't look too hard. But when they actually try it, then they're like, this is way too hard. Screw this.
That too. Like there's a mix of both. I think there are two different types of speedrunners. Where like the people who say that looks really easy or that looks really hard. So it depends. I'd say. Like I'd imagine just as many people. I think the people who are more verbal about it, like the ignorant people who say that looks easy, like you hear more from those people because they're the loud minority, right? But then you have the people who are too afraid to say anything because they're like, oh, I could never do this myself. You know, there are two different types of excuse me, there are two different types of people like that, I think. But I was talking specifically about the people who are like, I could never do this, it's too hard. No, but trust me, like with SpongeBob, like we get so many people who are like, this looks so easy, and then I tried cruise boosting. I tried for 4 hours, I couldn't even get it once.
Right, exactly.
Oh wow. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, looking at it, I don't see how you see, like, how do you know when you get it? It looks like nothing changes.
That's like a very feel-based thing too, because there are like different cues. Like, eventually you get the privilege of knowing, like, you can feel when you press the buttons at the same time, but even that isn't always consistent. But it's a lot of it's like the direction you slide and where you were facing before, your angle. It's hard to explain. Like anybody who like, again, with frame perfect tricks, like, you know, you just feel it, you know? That's what people usually say is like with fighting games, you just feel it. So if you ask anybody like, how do you know if you got it? Like 90% of the time, if you ask somebody who plays this game, they'll just say, you just feel it, you get used to it. So that's like another thing that's really cool about the game too, is like, it feels really satisfying for a lot of this stuff where you have to just know where the frame is or do it raw to actually like have the satisfaction of like, oh cool, I got that. That's sick.
Right.
In the speed run, we cruise boost. Well, in my route, I cruise boost 25 times within the span of 20 minutes. So it's just constant doing stuff.
That's the thing. That's the difference with Ocarina of Time. Or I think a lot of Zelda games actually. That when you mentioned that it's just a feel in Zelda, it actually doesn't have to be a feel, because you have the option of pause buffering and taking the time. You can lose minutes and minutes if you want to and get every like hard trick consistently, because once you take the time to just set up everything and like look with the hook shot where you're situated, you can take as long as you want, and you could set up everything and to pull off the frame perfect tricks. But in a game, in other games, not really. It's quite the opposite.
Like especially in this one, like when you're cruise boosting, you're literally being pushed forward. Like you can't take a breather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. Even standing still is a skill that's like not that easy. There's a lot of like flicking back and forth on the control stick to be able to like keep your momentum going from side to side very, very quickly to be able to stand in one spot, and also turning around as well. There are some tricks that require a lot of turning. When I'm going over my next tutorial with people, I made a new route that's like really easy for people to learn. Doesn't include any of the hard stuff like fast nut and shit like that, but there are still like 9 or 10 cruise boost instances, not nearly as many as world record or like top level runners, but just enough cruise boosts so like you use them to cross the gaps. There are some cruise boosts that we do to save 1 second or something like that because there's like a really small distance, and if you cruise boost, it saves like you get there just a little bit faster than if you didn't do it. So there are some places where it's optimal to do it, but it's not necessary if you're new. And I think that like especially with like getting people into speedrunning, it's really good to have like alternate routes and stuff like that for people to try out. With battle, it's hard to route, so I try to like make beginner routes for people. Like I tell them exactly what to do to start because you have to collect 40 spatulas without cruise boosting to get cruise boosting. So the objective of the game, unless you're a task, because when you're a task, the objective is to get 15, and then you get bubble ball boosting. But that's like a you'll see when the next task comes out. It's insane. Like I can actually bring up a video. It's a really short one, so I can just I can bring up a comparison video. Bubble ball boosting. This trick is only viable in 100% right now in 2 instances. So 100% is a really cool category. It has a lot of potential for a lot of hard tricks like that. But unfortunately, we have a 17-minute grinding segment for currency right in the middle of it. And it's only like an hour and 45 minutes right now. So it's plagued by that really terrible, long, boring segment. But we're working on it to make it better. If 139 is ever possible in that, like I'd flip. That'd be so sick. But right now, it's looking like 143 is the lowest it's going to go for now. Maybe a 142.
What we said about Mario. You never know. 143.
Exactly. We just got to find a way to get the shinies faster. That's the game's currency, is shiny objects. They're like coins in Mario. But here you go. This is a comparison video I put together.
I'm going to put it up.
The normal cruise boosting strats versus bubble ball boosting. There's a lot going on in this video too. It's pretty crazy strat. So I was the first player to get a bubble ball boost successfully in a run like this. I guess you can say I was also the one to do it like a really easy one in Bikini Bottom that sends you like 2 feet. But that was in like 2016, doesn't really count. This is a bubble ball boost jump. BBBJs are really hard to pull off in runs, but this is the strat. So you get in this wall, get stuck in, so the game detects you're out of bounds, and the out of bounds detection pulls you into the box. So the box teleports you to the bottom of this slide, and it puts you in midair. So when you're in the middle of air, you can jump again to get another speed boost, and it skips this whole area where you just like normally you'll see later, like you do a cruise boost, you jump into the box and you like run around. But yeah, bubble ball boosting is another frame perfect trick. Surprise, surprise. You have to get a frame perfect activation when you come back from being dead. So when you respawn, you bubble ball on the first frame. Because if you ball on the second frame, you don't get enough height. You have to ball on the first frame to be able to get the height for it. So it puts you all the way in midair, and then once you have the correct angle, you can do a jump that sends you flying and puts you in front of the gate. Now the reason why this is only useful 100% and 200%. 200% is like a miscellaneous category where you cheat in 100 spatulas and get 100 more, but that's like a more obscure thing, so it's not considered to be a main category. But here you can see on the right, I'm just going through all this really slow stuff with cruise boosting. Bubble ball boosting is the fastest movement in the entire game, and there's actually a way to capture it with bungee boosting, which is another useless tech, but it's kind of cool to observe it because you like what you do is like you bubble ball boost into a bungee, and then it makes you run as fast as you do. It makes you move as fast as you do with a bubble ball boost, but you have cruise boosting active, so it's just stapled onto your speed. So you're running like 20 times to 30 times faster than you normally run, but you're in a mode where you can't lose that speed, so you can just like you jump and you go like 1,000 feet. It's so crazy. The game's engine is limitless in terms of speed. It's just a matter of finding setups for this stuff, so who knows how fast it can get.
So is this something that's useful in any percent at all, or
no, it's only 100% because there's a sock. There's like, you know how like in like 120 shines, you'd say you'd have to collect all the blue coins. In this category, we have to collect all the socks. So there's a really stupid sock that's really deep into jellyfish caves, which we'd normally skip in the run because we can go out of bounds and run under the cave. But to get to that sock, you have to go into the cave. So that bubble boost I just showed you there is only useful in 100% because you can do it to get to the cave faster. Whereas in any percent, you go under the cave.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, 100% has potential for stuff like that. But I want to get more into it. I want to optimize it more, but I'm just so focused on getting like a mid 56 right now that I really want to keep doing that.
Right.
Okay. That was something I was actually wanted to ask. How far, like current strats, where it's at, what do you think is the peak for any percent?
The peak right now, after that new trick was found, I think it's going to go under sub. It can potentially go under sub 5620 because there's so much room to work with right now. Back before this trick was found, the limit was looking like a sub 5640, and my PB was like a 5616, which I could have still improved up to like a 56. Like I was still capable of getting a 56. It's just that it's a lot more reasonable. Like it's really easy for me now to get it because of this new trick. It saves so much time. But yeah, sub 5620 I can see. Down the road, I think with maybe a couple of big strats being found, I can see 55 being possible, but that's not going to happen for a while probably. As far as theories go for this game, ballroom clip is solved as we've gone over. There's still swamp clip. That one's kind of iffy because there, again, I said with version differences, the collision on Xbox is a lot more strict. You can't clip through as many objects on Xbox. So ballroom clip was first found last year on GameCube emulator, but this year Conquer Hacks was able to find an area to clip in with Xbox. He found a new position to get in there. So I applied like the stuff that I knew about how to like consistently face the right angle with like cruise boost manipulation and L clipping to be able to force myself like consistently into that area. But like if it weren't for Conquer Hacks, we wouldn't even know that spot existed. So shout outs to him for that. He's pretty much the one who solved it. And then we have Swamp Clip. I found a consistent way of getting into that area. I found a consistent clip for that, but unfortunately the clip is useless because there's no way that we can currently it's hard to visualize this, but there's an area of the game where you can like go under the map to get a spatula in Kelp Forest, and you drown. So you skip the animation that he usually does, like the cheering and stuff when he gets it. That saves 6 seconds, and to get to that spatula originally, you have to go through a cruise bubble. You have to hit something with, you have to hit a button with a missile, and then you have to go through a cutscene. So it skips all that, and it's theorized to save like 13 seconds, but nobody's gotten it successfully yet. And we do have the consistent clip though. Like I was able to get that working, but we're still waiting on somebody to be able to drown into the spatula. And then there's another theory that we're working on. Alex and I were kind of labbing this in the back a while ago with that thing I just showed you there. There's a theory that you can do that consistently in any percent to save like 10 seconds, like 8 to 10 seconds. But it's way harder because in there you're going so fast that it's really hard to stop yourself when you're moving really fast, right? Like really fast, like at warp speed. So in 100%, it's more useful because the wall on the cave, you launch into that, so it stops you automatically. But in any percent, so you have like your caves laid out like this. This is the beginning of the map. Cave entrance is here, and then all the way out here, you have the exit, which is like your toll gate that you have to go to finish the run, or to get through the next part of the run. So we're warping from the beginning instead of the beginning to the beginning of the cave. We're warping from the beginning of the level to the end of the level, but there's no wall to stop you there. So you have to be able to time a spin or a slam or something to be able to stop yourself right over the toll gate and fall into it. So it's like, it's way harder, and we haven't really made it consistent yet, but I was able to find a setup that lets you re-enable the properties of the game that lets you do that. It's just a matter of making the angle consistent, really. And also that strat where you re-enable the out of bounds detection to be able to do bubble boosting, that's actually a task strat now. Like it's going to be used in Hazel's new task, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's like a routing thing that I made up for the strat that I was working on with Alex in the back a while ago. So yeah, it's cool how like now Hazel's come back to the community after 2 years of not playing, and like all the stuff that we found is just collecting, like Fast Nut. Like Alex also found Fast Nut. Hazel's using that now to like do like more stuff in Sandy's dream faster. So it's cool how like the viability of some of these task strats that Hazel found in the back a while ago, they're kind of being linked together by like all these bits and pieces that we found to make it all kind of work out. So the community's put a lot of work into finding stuff, and now it's like, okay, well, it's 2018 now. We can just use all these new strats to make a really cool test, and I'm really excited to see the outcome of it. Unfortunately, you can't task Xbox because the emulators are trash, but on Dolphin, I think Hazel's shooting for a sub 1 on it. I think sub 1 would probably be possible on it. Maybe a 58. We'll see, because the loading times on that console lose like 4 to 5 minutes. It's pretty rough.
Dang.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe even a 57. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm
in the group with people who are working on the task right now, and it's coming along pretty quickly, actually. It's pretty surprising.
Have you ever done any tasking yourself?
I want to, but I just haven't had the time to learn. I'm so focused on RTA right now.
I have no clue how to do it either.
Yeah, I want to, though. Like, I'm coming up on 10,000 attempts and 80%.
Wow.
Out of all the runs I've done in the game, I've done like 11,000 total. I'd say around 11,000, not including cheat percent, because cheat percent resets like 10 seconds in all the time. Fuck cheat percent. It's a dumb, stupid category. Doesn't count. But I've probably done like close to 11,000 attempts, recorded and unrecorded.
In 2 years. Oh,
in 2 years, yeah.
That's more than I did with Mario. Because I reached,
I reached about,
a lot. Right. I reached like about 15,000 after like 3-4 years. So wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, I think I know every single thing about SpongeBob.
Yeah. the earliest reset point that runs like 2.5 minutes as well. So it's like not even like you're resetting like within the first like minute or so.
Wow.
You usually gotta wait like 2.5 minutes to even begin to reset. And most of my runs make it past that anyway.
Okay.
So
wow.
Yeah.
Even more so. All right.
Yeah. But like then there are categories like NG Plus where you reset like 30 seconds in. Any percent's not really that reset heavy, really, I'd say. 100% definitely not nearly as much either. But there are so many cool things on 100% you don't see in 80%, like SpongeBob storage. I don't know if you've ever seen the SpongeBob mechanic. I could probably bring that up now. It's you can store damage if you're going into a SpongeBob form, and then when you release it, it activates like if you touch a trampoline while you're transforming, then you can release the trampoline bounce anywhere you want. It's so cool. So I'm gonna.
So you're just storing like whatever was happening right before you went in.
Yeah, you can store damage. You can also store death too. If you drown, like if you drown on the same frame, I think it's not useful. So I don't remember correctly exactly how it works. But if you drown on the same frame you transform, you can roll across the map and drown wherever you want. It's pretty cool.
Wow. So
but yeah, I'll show that now.
Just to be clear, earlier you mentioned that after you kill bosses, you get power-ups. I'm guessing NG Plus, you just have those power-ups from the beginning.
Yep, correct. So NG Plus, the world record right now is a 49.17 because you have cruise boosting the entire time. But it's really cool. Like it feels a lot more like a Mario game because you have the movement the entire time.
Right.
It's not setup based stuff. It's like any percent's like half. It's like more like honestly, I'd say any percent's more like 3/4 OOT or like 2/3 OOT, and then like 1/3 Mario. This category is like all Mario. It's really cool. And then 100% is like half OOT, half Mario because it's longer. 100%, the record right now is a 1:45.46. I'm gonna beat that soon when I go back to it though.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's like half of it's cruise boosting, but also again like the 17 minutes of grinding is not good. So
right.
Now that I consider
that does not sound very fun.
Even though you have cruise boosting for that section, it's in theory half movement, half setups, but we're gonna get it there eventually. It's just gonna take time. The category wasn't ran seriously until like 2016. Cole did some runs with back in the day. He had like a 2:30. Fuff brought it down to sub 2, and then I ran it for like a month and brought it down to a 1:45. There's like a pretty diverse number of world record holders for 100% actually. Cole, Fuff, Red Moss, Jared, and myself all had it at one point. And so I think that I love 100%, by the way. I love like completion speed runs because of all the tricks you add.
Right.
Like, you can see so much more of the game and so many more tricks. I posted one of them in the Discord if you want to look at it. It's the SpongeBob storage I was talking about. the cool thing about 100% is not really the extra spatulas you get. In some cases, yeah, like campers and crystals are cool in Kelp Forest, but it's mostly the socks. You get 50 more socks. So this is a strat you get one of the socks on top of a fallen building.
Video's playing. So what the hell am I looking at?
All right, so I'm gonna do like all right, so first off, we gotta establish that to get the sponge ball, to not make it activate when I touch it, there's an animation when SpongeBob gets when he gets into the sponge ball. He has like when he double jumps and lands, you'll see how like if you replay it, he crouches a little bit and like lands on his feet and like eases himself out when he does a double jump. So I'm double jumping and then I'm jumping before I move again. It's kind of like have you ever seen Gelato Beach Skip performed? They jump.
Yeah, Gelato Skip, right?
Yeah, they jump before they move to keep their camera angle. Well, think of it this way: like in this situation, we're jumping to make sure that he doesn't go into his walking animation. Because if you go, as soon as you go into your walking animation, the sponge ball activates. So by the way, the trick was like it only lasted for like 10 seconds. It was like the first 10 seconds of the timestamp I put.
Right.
But now you're watching the scene, I guess that's cool too. But as I was saying, the sponge ball just activates after you start walking. So what I do is I jump over it and then I get crouch jumps to make myself stay like this. The sponge ball is like still stored, and then I activate it on top of the hot sauce thing. So when I hit the hot sauce, I damage myself as I'm touching the trampoline to store the trampoline boost. And then once I do that, I roll over to the building and I press B. And as soon as I release the sponge ball, his damage plays and he also gets launched really high because that's the trampoline being stored in him. So you can get on top of that building.
Okay.
It's another one of the really cool strats on 100%. That's why it's so cool. Like you see like these longer categories that make you do more stuff. You see so much more broken shit, and there are a lot more like difficult strats.
That's why I enjoy 100% speedruns more.
Yeah, they're really cool. Unfortunately, like a lot of games are really grindy. Mario's like it seems like there aren't many dull moments to 120. Like most of it's exciting. I'd say right?
It's always exciting.
Yeah, because all the stars are good. Battle has like the problem where you have to like 8 of the spatulas in the game are solely done by collecting currency and trading the Mr. Krabs to get spatulas. So it's like you just sit in the museum and you grind shiny objects for 17 straight minutes. It sucks.
Like you just keep reloading the level or whatever. And
yeah, so what we do is we enter the level of Sandy and we activate these thunder tikis, right? They're like these if you touch them, they get mad and they blow up after like 3 seconds. So when you have like a large pile of tikis together and you blow one up, they all chain react and they all blow up at the same time, and you get a big combo off of it, and the combo gives you more shiny objects on top of that. So what we do in museum is we activate one, and then we start hovering into a wall to ever so slightly clip out of it. So your hand like kind of clips out of the wall a little bit, and there's out of bounds detection past that wall. So because her hand clips into the wall, the game's out of bounds detection, the hand takes us away from the wall and puts us back at the last checkpoint. But when you die and respawn, the checkpoint, like it respawns all the tikis too. So we just do that like 90 times in a row. It's really stupid. But the rest of the run's really good though. It's a really cool run.
I've always wondered why like games have that kind of stuff where it's like a collecting part of the game where you have to just grind something to get like one thing that you need for 100%. I don't know why they do that. It kind of makes the game a bit
exactly. The thing is that like 100% is a decent category, but that really plagues it, and I would probably not submit it to a GDQ until that's like at least made a little bit better.
I guess the same thing in Odyssey. Like Odyssey 100% would involve, I don't know how long it is, but a really long amount of time just collecting coins or whatever they need to buy moons.
That's why like 100% even casually is a pain in the ass, because you have to do all the crab stuff. But I think any percent just playing casually is really fun because the game gives you a lot of freedom for where you can go and the worlds you can enter. Like if you don't want to do something, it's not even like Mario where you have to beat 1 star to go to the next star. You get dropped into a world, you have 8 different spatulas, and you can choose which ones you want to get. If you don't want to do something, you get stuck somewhere, you can just come back later. So like a good example of this is like there's a robot in Rock Bottom called the Sleepy Time where if you get close to it, it hurts you. and so I guess some kids can't figure out that if you tiptoe up to it, then you can hit it when it's still sleeping. But people who can't figure out how to do that, they can just beat the second boss fight and get the cruise bubble and come back and hit the robot with the cruise bubble from a distance. So you get more power-ups to help yourself beat levels you couldn't beat before when you first started playing the game.
Right.
And you can skip around. You don't have to do all the spatulas in order. You can skip spatulas. But the open design of the game is why it's so good for speedrunning too, because you can just like mix and match, like pick whatever spatulas and socks you want for any percent. Like you can just choose around and do whatever you want. You can do Sandy's Dream early as Sandy. There is a Sandy method for Fast Nut, but it's 20 seconds slower. So it's more useful for new players. And even like now there are routes being made to make that version of the nut fast for even like high level players too, because the game's gotten so many like not only harder strats but also easier strats for new people to get into it. So like you have like your barrier to entry is like here, and then I just realized my camera's mirrored. I've been doing these hand gestures the whole time, and my camera's mirrored over here, so I'm going from like, this is my left on the screen, this is my right on the screen. But anyway, like your skill barrier versus your skill ceiling is like here when I first started playing, and as I've played more, it's just gotten larger where more people can get into the game and you can grind as much as you want and still get better. So
that's a good way to put it. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with Mario, you have like the easy strats you can do and just like solely movement, right? You can get into the game as easily as you want, but that's what hooks you in and makes you want to play it more. So you get to like you guys, like your levels of gameplay where you've put so many hours in, and you can still improve a lot just because the game ceiling is just so limitless.
Yeah,
that's what makes it fun. Really high. You always have the privilege, like the ability to improve, and that's what makes it fun, because that's all speedrunning is about, is improvement.
Yeah.
If you're playing a really bad speed game that's like no tricks, like you play it, you get a good time, you're happy with it, and you're bored after that. But for like battle and I guess like Mario and OT and games like that, like you can just keep playing and you keep improving, and you'll always find something. As long as like, again, like especially with like the frame perfect tricks and stuff, it gets to a point where it's just like so grindy that like it just gets incredibly stressful compared to like the skill gap between like a 56 and a 57 and a 57 and a 58. They're just enormous. I can't even describe, like, especially because I was the one who, like, I hit these times. I was the first one to hit these times. Like the time it took to go from a 59 to a 58 is like actually, you know what? Because around the time that doesn't really apply here, because around that time a lot of big strats were found, like that saved like a half a minute. Ooh, so 57 happened pretty quickly after 58 happened, but I'll say that the time it took to get a 57 off of a 58 is not even comparable to the time it's taken to get close to a 56 or a 57. I got 57 in June of last year, and I'm still trying to get a 56. So I can't even imagine, like, I'd say like if more stuff gets found, I'd try to get a 55 before 2020. But even then, like, who knows how long it's going to take, because this game, like, it takes so long to improve now. It's honestly, like, for most people, unless you really love it enough to play it every day, it's probably not worth it. But it is a lot of fun if you want to do it. It takes forever to get to that point, though, so I'm not trying to scare people away from the game. Definitely try it.
Well, that's something we've talked about too, is like it's when you go into a game that's so optimized, it's hard to find motivation, and you really have to find it through, like, I feel like it's competition, getting involved with the community, and then also just like you can't really think about the world record. It has to be fun enough to where improving your time is fun, and that's like how it was for me with Mario.
I heard Bouncy Boy say something on his stream that really bothered me when he was saying like a couple of things, like, one, frame perfect tricks in 60 FPS games are basically RNG because you're never going to be consistent enough to hit them, which is, one, not true, because you've seen Melee, you play Melee, like, we know this. You can do it consistently if you put enough time in.
I think you're a perfect example of that in the speedrunning community. For a SpongeBob, that you're able to do that consistently.
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot, and I also, like, I've always been like somewhat consistent at them, but playing like putting the hours in that I do has really helped me get better at them. Yeah, it's honestly like how like Melee players play, like when they're in their prime, they play 10 hours a day, and that kind of consistency, like constantly grinding the same tricks, helps a lot. Right. But the other thing I was about to say about like what B-Boy was saying is that like he said that he would never consider running the game because he wants to do the best strats to be the best at it, or like not to be okay. That's not literally what I mean to say. He said something along the lines of like he wants to do the best strats to be like in the talking zone for like being one of the best at it. You know what I mean? Like when people start the game, they're like, I want to do the best strats because I want to improve a lot. But like, I think that like going into a game with that mindset of like wanting to like saying like my end goal is to do the hardest things in the entire game, like that's just like not really a good judge of whether you're going to pick up a game or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like especially like improving, it's not a good mindset, but also like determining whether you're going to pick up a game, like if someone's looking at the stuff that you're doing in Mario, like, and they try it for themselves, like, oh, I can't do that, I can't even dream about trying this game, you know?
Simp, your camera's having some issues there.
Oh, here, let me.
It's like earlier.
What happened there? You look like you're asleep.
How is it? Is it back now?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, it's back now.
That was really good.
It's the stream is still delayed, so I'm like looking at simply like the. Someone in chat say it looks like he's nutting.
It looks like he was nutting for like 20 seconds straight.
Yeah.
When the fast notice too much. Is that what it's like?
He just starts like. Okay.
Wait. So, Cheese, is your race in 20 minutes or is it an hour and 20 minutes?
No, it's an hour 20 minutes. For sure? Nice. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, because I thought it was 9:30 EST, unless you told somebody that to push it back.
I told Paracus, yeah.
Here, just one sec. Cheese has a 70-star attorney coming up. Last time it was like overlapping with the podcast. I just want to make sure it's, you know.
The heck? 1 second. Yeah.
Is it good?
I told him 9:30 p.m. EST.
Yeah, that's in 20 minutes.
Oh,
let me just. Huh? No, it's not.
Right now it's 8:08 CST, 9:08 EST.
Why? Wait, is daylight savings a thing now?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, yep, that happened today. That's.
Oh, really?
Why.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, Jesus.
I didn't even consider that.
All right, I have to ask these guys on the scheduling to make sure. Okay, 1 second. Jeez, I totally did not know that daylight savings thing was activating today. Oh, jeez.
It happened a couple of days ago.
Should have mentioned something. Okay, should have mentioned something.
I think I was on a run that was PB paced during that, so people in my chat were like, "So whatever you get, you got to add an hour to it because of daylight savings."
Oh, jeez.
So you get a 56, it's a 156.
Sim's camera's black now. He's just not even here anymore. Don't know what's going on.
See you, Sim.
Simply? Oh no.
He's frozen here for me.
I think his computer shut out again. So Simply isn't having computer issues earlier today, so I think it's
yeah, I've been having that problem too.
Yeah.
That's another thing about Motivate is like lately I've been having so many like IRL problems with like, again, I'm a full-time college student too. I commute 5 days a week. I drive for like 5 to 6 hours every week to my college. I got the college work. I'm a junior in college. A lot of stuff's going on in my life right now where I got to figure out like where I'm going to be a year from now. And on top of that, I'm having a problem with my PC where it's turning off in the middle of my streams during my runs. So my recordings are dying. So it's like just
That's
like
crazy.
having to focus and like on like what you're doing and not getting distracted by all the bullshit. Like even the ultimate level of bullshit when your computer is consistently turning off in the middle of your streams and runs at times. Like it's happened more than a few times. Like that's like really hard to deal with and stay motivated with.
1 second. Let me get. You're a full-time college student?
Yeah.
How many times do you have classes a week?
I have classes this semester 5 days a week.
And
so
you speedrun
there and back.
And you speedrun for hours a day as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I totally didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How many credits are you going for right now?
I'm not even. I have to do more than the required credits. Right now I'm taking 5 credits right now. In this semester, I'm doing 5 credits. Yeah.
Do you ever sleep?
No, that's why I said I'm tired. I always try to nap before my streams though, because I feel like I play better whenever I nap and wake up. I have a lot of problems with fatigue and exhaustion because of all the running around I do and all the sitting. Like when I sit in a desk all day and then I come and sit in the chair, like it's just sitting nonstop. And also like the loss of time I have for like socialization.
Yeah, that's a
I love
big
that I
thing.
have a stream to hang out with, because like I'm like super like on the grind right now for like college, speedrunning, school, all this stuff's like
So you go to
going
school
around.
and then you come
And I'm
home.
still PBing like multiple times a
you go
month.
to school, you come home, you play a lot in the day. And you also you put time for like projects or homework stuff you gotta do, I'm guessing.
All that stuff too, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I gotta maintain the stream too, so like not just playing, but also like putting on a good show. There's a lot to balance and juggle. Last month or so, I was having a lot of stress dealing with exams and getting my stream rebranded, because I got like the new logo and the new layouts and stuff. So I had to get all that into place. All the new, I've updated a lot of my emotes and stuff. Like a lot of that stuff has been going on all at the same time, and it's part of it is like I usually say like during the school year. I think this year I finally figured it out though, because I usually have trouble PBing and having good runs and not getting frustrated on my stream during like the school year, but I think I've gotten a lot better at working on that now. Just like doing well in school and speed running, and like figuring out how to calm down when I get upset at something on like speed running.
Right. That takes a long time to get used to.
So here's a question for both of y'all. In terms of streaming, like when you stream, obviously now you're cutting into your socializing time, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Do you think that streaming is available, like, or a valuable, viable source of socialization? Do you think that being a streamer has made you
like more social?
Yeah.
I think it's helped a little bit, but I was already a pretty social person before I came to Twitch. Like I was involved with like sports and stuff in high school, things like that. I was already like, I had a lot of like friends that I haven't talked to as much since I started streaming though, because I've kind of had to do that and focus on like if I want to visit somebody at college. I used to do that when I was like a freshman before I started speedrunning, but now like I have this job, I got the stream as my job, and I got my school work to do and practicing speedrunning to stay consistent every day. Because like honestly, it feels like if you don't play this game for a day, you come back the next day and you're like, I can't even fucking play, because it's all like nonstop frame perfection. Like it sucks.
That's speedrunning, man.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Well, at least with Mario, I feel like I used to feel like that. I used to be like, dude, if I'm not on a streak of playing, like let's say I'm on a week-long streak, I'm hot. If I take one day off, it's ruined. Like I used to think like that. But I don't know. I felt like that was something that when I really thought about it, like the next day I play after a break, it's in my head. I'm like, oh, I haven't played, kind of rusty or whatever. So I feel like it's something I've gotten better about. Like when I was playing, if I took a break, I could come back and I'm playing if like the same, if not better.
Yeah, no, I would never think it. I would never think it gets ruined, kind of thing. But yeah, I would always think that every day that I take a break, I get more and more affected. Not anymore. I think more like no. When I come back, I usually come back stronger. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that level of confidence and just like innate knowing that you can do it as well. Like as you speedrun more, I've noticed that as well, especially recently. That sometimes when I can only play for a couple of hours a day, like when midterms are coming up and stuff like that, I still end up PBing sometimes because I'm fresh. It's like it's like running, where you're doing 50 miles a week, at least in high school. That's nothing in college, but 50 miles a week in high school, you do that for most of the season, go up to 55 sometimes, and then toward the end of the season, when you got to get your races in, you got to stay fresh. You drop the mileage to like 30, and you perform better because you're not burning out and you're more motivated to perform when you're actually doing it. I think that's part of it too, but I often feel that it's not necessarily how, like, obviously if you're not playing like long term, every day you don't play adds up in the long term. Like you might end up with like even like a few weeks to a month of just not playing collectively stacked up across a year if you don't do it almost every day. But on top of that, like if you're if say you don't play for a day, and the last time you played, you were really upset about something, or you ended a run off of missing a trick. Like, no matter what I do, there are very few times when I've been speedrunning on stream and I'm like, I miss a trick and I'm like, ah, that's it. I give up. Good night. And I turn off the stream and leave. Like, I always try to at least get a run that makes me feel good about what I've accomplished for the day. Right. Or I try to practice something enough times. If I'm not focused enough to get runs, to be like, okay, I'm confident in this trick. The next time I play it, I'm going to have that muscle memory. A lot of it's confidence, but it's important to know the difference in speedrunning, especially when you're improving or getting better at a game, to know the difference between confidence and arrogance. And they're two very different things. There are some very arrogant speedrunners who come into a game and say, I'm going to be the best in the world. Fuck these guys. This game's easy.
Yeah, I feel like that was Mr. Speedrun's mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
And it still is.
It's like you have diminishing returns as well. Like, I believe that there are some people who say that talent isn't a real thing, but I like if you put your time into something, you will eventually get good at it. But I disagree. I think the talent is a thing, but it's a combination of many factors, like your nature, your nurture, and your personality part of it as well. Like when you're like your genetics determine like how like your personality is to some extent, but it's also how you were raised, your ideals, that all forms your personality, which gives you the ability to perform in something. Like for me, like I had a coach that was constantly like, he never gave me the validation that I wanted. Like he never like said like, good job, you're doing great, congrats on improving, you got a good time. Like he never said any of that to me until like the end of my high school year, where he was actually like surprised that I ran a good time. So I was used to constantly being like beaten down and doing these races that like he didn't appreciate. And all I wanted to do was just like even though, because like obviously like I've suffered with like asthma and allergies too, so it's hard for me as well to be able to, with like food allergies too. Like it's hard for me to get the protein that I need to improve in a sport. So like all this stuff, like it would have meant a lot to me to be like get like some kind of a like validation from him, but he never gave it to me. So I just spent years like grinding out these runs to try and get something that would, you know, like make me feel like I was worth it to be on his team. But I don't know, it only happened like a couple of times. But I'm just used to like, that's the speedrunning mentality. Is like you're constantly being beaten down and you got to put in the work every day because you know it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
But
so you're getting beaten down by your own mind instead of by someone else.
Exactly. But that's what's nice about it too, is that's like, well, gift and a curse. Because if you're speedrunning, like you can really get in your own head very badly, and that's where walls come from. Like sometimes you just wall off very badly. But I find that like adversary outside of my own head, like against another person, motivates me even more to do better. Or at least I learned how to be that way. Because when I first started running, I wasn't like that. I was just like, oh well, if this guy doesn't like me, I don't really care. I'm just like whatever. But now it's like, oh well, this person doesn't believe in me, I'm gonna fucking show him, you know.
Yeah.
Over the years, I kind of developed that mindset. But again, with like the arrogance thing, like people come in with the diminishing returns. They're like, they spend 14 hours a day playing a game and they don't improve at all. Partly because they're not enjoying it. Again, like with a talent thing, talent is also like, in my opinion, how much you enjoy a game or how often your capacity for playing it. You can't really learn that. That's just something like that comes to you if you really feel it. Like if you really feel true love for a game and you play it every day and you're just like, I can't wait to play this game for the 500th day in a row. Like that's something you can't teach. I think that's something that, you know, you just have it or you don't. And you can't really force yourself or anybody else to do that. And that's why like
totally agree. I say the same thing.
Like you can't like, that's why I hate when people say like, oh, do you have world record? No. All right, well, see, I'm not watching your stream. Or like, well, do you do world record strats? Oh, you're not doing this strat? It's like speedrunning is a form of personality more than it is a competitive thing. At least right now it is right now. It's more of a, I wouldn't say it's entirely a hobby. For most people it is, but for us, like we want to improve our own times and compete with ourselves and other people as well. I mean, not so much me because I run a game that only has like 220 runners. You guys are definitely like a better example of that, the competitive side of speedrunning. But again, that's like the personality thing. It's how you express yourself. You can do whatever you want with it. So like you never want to compare like you cheese with like a new runner who has like a 4-hour time and 120 star. It's just unfair. You don't even know like that's a valid comparison yet because one, they haven't put the time in yet, and two, they might not have the personality or the drive to do it. And it's not like, I don't know. The one thing that's like, if you criticize somebody for not having the motivation to speedrun, that's kind of obnoxious. But if you criticize somebody for claiming they have the motivation but they don't put the time in, that's like kind of going back on your word. And that's something that I guess like that's something that I like thinking about, though, is like how some speedrunners are likable and some aren't, and there are some where like they're controversial, where a lot of people like them and a lot of people don't. And I think the way you present yourself or the way you do your runs has a lot to do with that. Like the personality, as I'm saying before. Like I think Raised Fire is a good example of somebody that like a lot of people don't like him because he puts time into his stream more so than practicing or caring about his runs, or like he does a lot of like no reset runs to like keep people entertained, but he doesn't focus too much on PBing.
Because a lot of people value this stream and they just happen to do it with speedrunning.
Exactly. And but then people are like, oh, I can't stand Raised Fire. He only cares about making money. Or like, it's just so, first off, let's make this straight. I think a lot of the people who have the mental capacity for streaming are smart enough to get like educations and jobs that make a lot more money than streaming.
Right.
So it's not that we're doing it for money. We're doing it because we want to be able to put more time into things we care about and grow our communities and have fun with that, because it's what we want to do. It's our dreams. Right. So I can't stand people say,
"Oh, they just,
person only plays this game for money," you know?
No, they prefer just chilling out and having fun with the games and not being competitive.
And then there are people who criticize like people like us, or like, this guy gets so mad on his stream. All he does, or like he gets upset, sad, excited, whatever. He can't control his emotions sometimes. He can't like he resets his runs nonstop. He never gets past this area or that area. I can't stand watching this guy. He's a terrible speedrunner. I can't, which is also like, because we're more the competitive oriented speedrunners. To us, that's like, that sounds obnoxious. Like that's absolutely insane. But I feel like people with us would sympathize more with like, not saying we do, but we'd probably lean to more toward the people who are like, I can't stand people who don't try. But like there are two sides of it, and there are more than two sides actually. There are infinite ways you can speedrun, like doing a variety of games. Like this person puts time into so many games to be decent at all of them. I can't stand that because he never dedicates himself to one thing. Or this guy only plays this game. This guy only plays Mario. I can't stand that he only does this game. I want to see him do other stuff. But like, there's so many different ways of doing it. Like there's no correct or incorrect way of doing it. My point is that no matter how good you are or what your motivations are,
you can never make everyone happy either, because there are people who in my chat tell me, hey, I only want you to play Mario 64, and then other people are like, I want you to play something else other than Mario 64. So it's like, okay, if I decide to speedrun another game, then there will be people who'll be like, oh my god, another game, this is so awesome. I can't wait to see.
Exactly, because there's no
but
way.
But then half the other people would be like, oh, why are you playing this game? I want you to play Mario 64 right now.
Yeah. You can never please anybody because there are so many different ways of speedrunning and so many ideas, which is why it's so hard to grow this community. Is that it's also why it's so divided. When speedrunning was mostly just following around like Narcissorite or like Ziglemic, you had like two or a very, very few ideologies for how to speedrun. But now, because there are so many different ways of doing it, people have their own preferences, and there are so many varieties of what you can watch that it's unrealistic to say like the Apollo Legend shit, like speedrunning is never going to get big because we're not united. We are, but it's just like you can only be so united when there are so many different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Like we all, I mean, for fuck's sake, it's 2018. We're taking SpongeBob seriously. Like it's gotten to that point. You know, not everybody's going to sympathize with that, and people want to do what they want to do. You can't just, you can't force them to think a certain way or do a certain thing. It's just easy. Like when you have, I guess his point, Apollo Legend's point, is that there's one leader of a community that takes charge and shows people the way. Like with, say, like eventually, like, okay, bad example I'd say is maybe Clint, or maybe good / bad example, because the thing about Clint is that he has a really great, or when he did speedrun, he had a really great mainstream appeal, but he didn't really show people the side of speedrunning, or like the dedication it takes to grind for like a 139 or something like that. He was more of like he wanted to improve, but he also cared about his stream just as much, and I feel like that's cool, but it's also like the type of speedrunning that we care about.
I think what happened to Clint as well. What happened to Clinton as well was when we were mentioning like a lot in the beginning of the podcast, when we were mentioning about not being able to express your feelings and emotions on stream, getting mad or whatever. And Clint is a really golden example of that. He has like the same persona constantly, same emotions. And I think that's why he kind of burnt out of speedrunning, because there were obvious times that even he told me himself when he used to play Mario, that he would get so frustrated and he'd be like, Mario's so hard, I don't know how you guys do this. And then he stopped speedrunning, you know? And it kind of proves the point, I guess.
That's why it's so hard to grow, because like to make this community bigger, there is an emotional side and like an athletic side of this hobby or sport, and you know, it's to present something like that in a way. It's like you're running the show. It's different when a player in a sport like gets mad in like a basketball game. Someone like it's like a fight on the court between two players.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah, it makes the players look bad, but like the presentation, the focus is on the game and the collective of players. Whereas like if you're one person, like a really big streamer, and you rage on your stream, the only impression is that speedrunning makes you nuts, like it drives you crazy. Where you have like, it's not the same thing as like a sports compilation where like I saw on Twitter there was like a thing, like a discussion going on where about like comparing rage compilations in sports to rage compilations in speedrunning and why they're different. And there's like a grander scale of like when you're witnessing a fight on a court, like for basketball, or on a baseball field. It's like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's something that wouldn't happen often, because I've seen baseball before, and it's just a few people being assholes. So it's like, I'm sure there are other people in the community who aren't like that. But when speedrunning, like you can selectively pick the people who get mad the most, and when they do get mad, not in their high points but in their low points, you can just frame it to make it look like speedrunning is just like this like mental illness, as I guess PewDiePie called it. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of what has happened with like a lot of the big videos that people watch are these rage.
Yeah, because it's funny. Like it's entertaining for some people, which like I think like it's kind of hypocritical for me to say like I don't understand how people can find that stuff funny, because before I started speedrunning, I probably found that stuff. I probably would have liked that stuff too, but I guess like just being more aware of it and understanding how it impacts me, it makes it less funny for me. It's not that I try to not laugh. It's like, oh, it's hypocritical or it's wrong. Like I genuinely just don't find it funny, like seeing somebody lose a run and get angry over it, unless it's like something ridiculous, like it's someone with like a 5-hour time in like Sunshine and they get mad over missing gelato skip. It's just like, all right, well,
right.
I don't think you put in the time to get mad yet. But again, there are like hypocritical. It's hard not to be hypocritical with like stuff like this though, because I feel like a lot of speedrunners also like they assume like, especially in like games that are less competitive, like I'm the best at this game, I can do anything. And there are like speedrunners who like go into games saying, like more popular games from smaller games, like they outwardly say I'm gonna be the best at this game, or I'm gonna be one of the best at this game because I'm the best in my game. And then they go in, they realize it's so much more competitive. Yeah, they just look like assholes. That happens, but I mean, like,
it's the hype, dude.
It's hard to avoid that because, like, every speedrunner, I think, believes that their game is at least one of the hardest games, right?
Right.
Because they put so much time into it, but there's no frame of reference of how much other people struggle too. So everybody thinks like I'm the hardest working speedrunner, or like I am the greatest speedrunner ever at this game I do. Nobody else can do it like me because I'm the best.
Yeah.
But then they go into other games and they see like one that they don't love the game. First and foremost, if you don't love the game, you can't play it. I would never pick up a game that I don't absolutely love. Even if I like it, like I know I don't have the personality to really dedicate my time to something that I kind of care about. I have to actually like it a lot. And again, and two is like the dedication and the time to put into it. But I still think it's never like saying I want to be the best at this game that I've never played before just because I'm good at this game. Or like especially like people in chat say that too, like, oh, this guy's picking up this game, he's gonna beat the best player. Like you haven't really seen anything yet, you know. I think it's only fair to make those judgments once you've seen their potential and the time they're willing to put in. I think that
it'll be interesting to see Armada. Armada's picked up Galaxy now, or Odyssey, so he's playing that. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh man, he's about to just go off.
Exactly, but it's not the same thing, you know. It's games are different.
It's surprising that he started Odyssey, considering that he was talking for months about I'm about to start Mario 64, and then Odyssey comes out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, okay.
That makes me feel like he chose Odyssey because it's popular, and he's worried about. I can kind of see like where he's coming from though, because he wants to have a bigger stream, and it's pretty obvious. Like I've seen him at work. Like he puts the sub goals up. He tries to grow his content on YouTube. Like he's trying to make his stream bigger, I guess, to like prepare for eventually when he retires. Like I think Mango's like starting to fade out of Melee as well right now, and he's got a big enough stream to support that choice. But Armada, like he is Melee. He has to, like, he's still just the Melee guy. He has to differentiate himself. Whereas like Mango's already like he's ascended to that level where he can do new things and not get criticized for it. Like how say like Cheese, you struggle with that when people say, "Why aren't you playing Mario? Stop playing PUBG." But like you want to play PUBG. It's just that like you have to give it time for people to be like, okay, this guy plays PUBG. Like I'm cool with this. I like watching him play it. You know?
Yeah. So Cheese, your races right now?
Yeah. Right. I mean, they have to wait a bit because no one, when we made the arrangement, no one mentioned anything about daylight savings starting today. And in Spain, it's not the same thing. We don't have it, I don't think. So like, not yet. So I did, you know, no one told me. Paracusa didn't say anything either, so I didn't know. So I hope they would, you know, wait a bit longer so we could start it in like half an hour or so because, you know, yeah. So anyway, yeah, dude. Going back to like when you mentioned PewDiePie and his speedrunning video, I have so much to say about that. But I mean, I guess we could. I don't know if we should make it like a different kind of topic for a different day. But I mean,
I'd be down to come back on. This was fun.
I can't believe that he made a video like that, and I have so many things to say about it. Have you seen the video?
Not so much. Like
I've seen the video.
I've seen part of it, but my problem wasn't so much that he was showing rage clips.
No, of course not. The problem is
it's just that he framed it in a way that made it seem like this is a disease.
No, but that's the thing.
Worst thing in the world.
The problem is the fact that he decides to completely go off on a community that he has no idea about, right? So the fact that you would make a video and talk about this whole thing that you have no clue about and you've never put yourself into it is very, I don't know what word to use, obnoxious. It's very stupid in the first place.
I'd say it's arrogant,
irresponsible.
Irresponsible. Yeah.
I was about to say that too. It's also irresponsible because like he's PewDiePie, he can do whatever he wants. Like it's kind of a low blow to attack such a small community, right?
He made that. It's not that small, by the way. Everyone has this idea that speedrunning is a small community. I don't
compared to like esports.
No, but right. Yeah. So he obviously made the video to just make it a fun video to people look at rage and he would get views on, and he didn't care about shitting on the whole community to do that. So that's what I really hate about it. It's arrogant completely.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Yeah, I got through about 10 seconds and I'm just like, I'm not going to give this person the watch time. I'm not going to view his ads over this. Like, it's not worth it.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, though, like, yeah, he framed it that way, but there's still going to be people that are curious that come from that video. Like, it's still exposure.
Well, yeah. That is true. Like people who can think for themselves. And I'm not sure if this is like, what do you think that the target age for speedrunning is? Because I see some people like Pancakes who runs a bunch of games. And he's like 14 or 13 years old.
Dude, Ouija, who's now like getting to like 47. He started when he was 10, apparently.
Oh, shit, yeah,
and
right.
Now he's 14, and he's like he's a top Mario player, and he's getting like really close to like top 5 and stuff in 70.
That's awesome. Are you excited about that?
And he's 14. Yeah, I'm really excited. And Tygo as well. Tygo has thrown away like 3 47s really close. No, Tygo is like 21 or something.
Oh, okay.
But no, Mario's getting in there. But yeah, I mean, there were parts of the PewDiePie's video that he mentioned, like stuff like, yeah, I get it, you know, the competitiveness and stuff. But then he would go off and be like, but you people need to stop getting mad, you know, it looks like everyone just gets mad at this. It's like, obviously that's not true. You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, like people who care, again, with the different types of speedrunning, like we all get mad. Some of us are more expressive, but like if you've ever done anything competitive, like I know you played, like I'm talking about like PewDiePie now. I know, like, I knew you played volleyball, right, Cheese? I used to run Simply. What do you play? Anything?
I play tennis, but I've never like gone hard in sports or anything.
You did swimming too. You're a swimming coach, weren't you?
I taught swimming to kids. It wasn't like coaching teams.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
I find it interesting. Like, I think it'd be really cool to make like a spreadsheet and show like the competitive or like athletic histories of some of the more well-known speedrunners and just see how they compare. I think that'd be really cool to look at.
Right. Well, actually, when you were mentioning about like you having a coach that was so rigorous and you felt like you had never had validation. I mean, I played soccer for 10 years before I played volleyball, and my stepdad was my coach for my whole life. And he was like brutal, you know. It was always every day, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. It wasn't enough, you know. I never felt like it was enough either. So I know what you meant by it. I know I have first-hand experience with what you mentioned as well. But from that, I learned a lot about motivation and stuff, like you said too, and like what it takes to get good at something, you know, doing it every day kind of thing. It's the same
I think
aspect.
that it's important because like did you love soccer or you just do it because like
I didn't know
you wanted to try it and you wanted to be good at something, right? The feeling of being good at something, even if it's not something you truly love.
Well, I started playing soccer when I was like I started playing soccer when I was like 8, so I wasn't old enough to really make my own decisions. I started playing at 8 and I loved it until I was like 14. Then I really hated it after. But
because when you're a kid, you don't really know what you want, right?
Yeah. When I was like 14, I realized I don't want to do this anymore at all. But my stepdad didn't let me quit, so I had to keep playing for like 4 years more, and it was really torturous. I hated it.
I think that any passion you have throughout your life, even if it's for something that you ended up not liking, like what really makes you great is when you learn how to take that passion and apply it to something that you actually love.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great point.
So like when I was a kid, the first thing I ever wanted to be, like, you know how when you're a kid, like, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman. Like when I was a kid, like the first thing I ever wanted to do was be a director and like make my own content and stuff like that. So like when streaming happened upon me through speedrunning, I realized like this is what I want to do and I want to put full focus on it. But at the same time, like I think I had the insight to know that it's not appropriate to drop out of college if I put so much time into it already and I'm almost done. So I'm still working on that. But like just when I'm done with college, I think I just want to do this. And you look back in your life and you see like, what have I done before? How have I improved as a person in certain things I've done, how I felt about it. And then when you find that one thing that you want to do, you just gotta like, again, like focus. If you're focused on something, as opposed to being focused on several things or dividing your attention or not really sure what direction you're going due to like fear or like, oh, but college is a safe bet, you know, like you get a degree and you get a job, you put it on a paper, people see who you are. Like streaming is a lot more subjective than that, so it's a lot riskier. But that's why it's a hard choice to make. But I think that people who really focus on full-time streaming can make it if they really care a lot.
Agreed.
So the idea of focus is like you need to have it. Otherwise, for a job like this, if you're not focused, people will forget about you. Because honestly, if you're not putting your all in, why should people care? That's the way I think of it. Like if I don't care about this thing, why should they?
Yeah, of course.
That's my mentality with speedrunning too.
It's obvious. Awesome.
Yeah. And with streaming, there's a lot to do. Like and even more so as Twitch grows. Like they just came out with now it goes up to what, 8 years for subscriber badges?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is that something you've already taken care of? Like you've already gotten all the pictures, or?
I think I know what I'm gonna do for it. I used to have like if you guys watched the episode of SpongeBob with like the super acquaintances, like when they all become superheroes and SpongeBob's the Quickster. I used to have like the Quickster.
The Quickster.
Yeah, when I first started streaming, my profile picture and my mascot on my stream was like the Quickster because like I'm the Quickster, like the SpongeBob speedruns. So that was like my original thing. Like I had the Quickster mask that he had, the glasses with the wings on them. That was my original sub badge. So what I'm doing is like since I rebranded, I put the S logo on everything. I'm probably gonna take the old Quickster badges and put them in as my 4 through 8 years. So the people who are subscribed the longest, like eventually, like it comes full circle when they get those back. So I thought that might be like a cool thing to do. I'm not entirely sure.
I have a question about SpongeBob. The narrator guy or the announcer, the guy that, you know, is that the same actor as the guy who plays Plankton?
Who? The narrator?
So, yeah, the narrator who does like
the narrator is actually Tom Kenny, SpongeBob.
Oh, okay.
Tom Kenny, so like the pirate. He's the pirate from the theme song. Not in that game because it's an off-brand, like knockoff theme song because they don't have the rights to play the actual theme song. But in the actual SpongeBob show, Tom Kenny is the pirate. He's SpongeBob. He's Gary, and he's also the French narrator. But
wow.
The French narrator.
Oh wait.
Right.
We're two different things. The announcer fish, you mean?
Yes, the announcer fish. The
guy. Announcer fish is Plankton. Yeah.
Right. The guy on the video game that does the
Yeah, in the boss fights, like, oh,
right.
what an uppercut. Yeah, that guy. He's the
voice
he's
of
Plankton.
Right. Okay, interesting. All right, so yeah, my race is soon, so I think we should go into the Q&A section.
All right,
sure.
We have a few questions here. So we'll start off right away from the Discord channel. Yeah, post the Discord in there. So
if you have questions, post them in the hash questions of our Discord.
Right. So KC asks, does Shift watch SpongeBob, and what's his favorite episode if he does?
Honestly, like, I'm like super big on like film and TV and stuff like that, so it's hard to answer that question now after not watching SpongeBob for like 10 years, but I do plan on watching the first 3 seasons to get an answer for that soon. I like a lot of the second season episodes though, like the Jelly Spotters episode with Kevin the Sea Cucumber, and like the episode Shanghai when they're stuck on the ship with Squidward and Patrick with like the 3 alternate endings. I like the season 2 stuff, but I really have to get around to watching those when I have time.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Favorite SpongeBob song? Doug McAuliffe asks.
What SpongeBob songs? Like, I don't know.
I guess like the beginning of the episode, that is when it starts, or the general music with the.
I don't know. Like,
dude,
I guess the theme song. Are there any questions about the game?
I mean, it could be from the game. Does the game have lots of songs, or is it just
like OST music from the game?
It could be from the game or the show, whichever one.
I'd say like my favorites from the game are like the downtown soundtrack that we were listening to earlier, simply, and also I'd say like
that was a good song.
It's a pretty good one, yeah. The sliding music when you're on your tongue and sliding, it's also good. The game has a lot of good soundtracks. That's why it's a lot of fun to play as well.
Cool.
The soundtracks in the game make it feel like you're in SpongeBob, paired with the dialogue and the bright, optimistic colors of it. It's a really good game, but the soundtrack I think ties it together completely, I'd say.
Okay, awesome. Hackass SSBM, he asks, has the community considered notching the OG Xbox controller? It's not a hardware mod on the Xbox, so it's still is it still considered cheating?
The thing is, like with notching, is that like there are some tricks like where the angles are so precise that notching it would be a disadvantage. So there are some things that are advantageous and some that are disadvantageous, I think. But
really?
aside from that, like opinions aside, I don't really know. Like we've talked about, like you can't modify your controller with like obviously turbo is bullshit. You should never be allowed to use turbo buttons in speedrunning. You're not allowed to modify your console to use a GameCube controller and stuff like that. Xbox 360, that's all banned. We've never really discussed notching, but I think it's just like generally it's accepted that like doing stuff like that. There was a guy who, so for example, for cheat percent, like you have to hold down the 2 triggers and enter the inputs on the like the buttons on the controller to enter the cheat codes for cheat percent. And there was a guy who admitted to putting rubber bands on the triggers to press the buttons and not have to hold them down while he's pressing the buttons. So it's kind of like the Guitar Hero stuff where people put a rubber band on the green button for Through the Fire and the Flames and tap along with the one button held down by a rubber band, and that's considered to be cheating. So like stuff like that has come up, and we've talked about like the ability, like should we allow people to do stuff like that? Notches haven't come up yet because I don't think anybody's really thought about doing it. I think that after a while, people eventually like get used to not having notches.
I was about to say that it just comes down to a matter of just getting so used to it that it really doesn't make a difference.
I think it's a matter of like it's a barrier to entry more than a peak level issue.
Right.
Because the game is like I could see how notches would help in a game like Mario 64 or like Melee, where either it's 2-dimensional like in Melee, or in Mario 64 you have like a few different angles. You press a button, it turns consistently every time. So if you have a notch angle, like you know the angle, it's easy. You know what I mean? But like with SpongeBob, the flicking the camera is just so precise, especially for like setting up tricks like Sponge Glide. You have to flick it around so slightly that it's so feel based that like I feel like a notch would almost be in the way for something like that.
Right.
It's a very feel based game. It's really hard to explain unless you played it.
Okay.
Necrovita asks, how long do you see yourself playing BFBB, and where do you see your stream in a few years? Do you plan on branching out to other speed games and taking those seriously?
So I want to take Sunshine seriously eventually, but I'm not sure when because I got into it just to put my foot in the door, get my feet wet, and learn some of the strats. So that way, like by getting that small amount of experience, I can watch people play the game and learn from it more. Because trust me, like when you're starting speedrunning, I know like the question's from Nick, so obviously he knows he's the Odyssey world record holder. But like for anybody who's thinking about speedrunning, you think you're retaining a lot more information when you watch someone speedrun than you actually are, and you'll retain a lot more information after you get your first run done. That's why I always say like learn the game, do strats that let you finish, and then you can start watching people and start retaining that knowledge because you've done it before and see what differences are between your run and their run. So that's why I picked up Sunshine and kind of like immediately said, I'm going to hammer out this run, get a time that isn't completely abysmal, just so I can understand enough about the game to learn from it when I watch it. So on my spare time, I watch like Sunshine streamers and I watch like VODs of like Sunshine strats just to like pick up more knowledge of the game. So when I eventually have time to go back to it, I can get better at it. But that's a game that I really like a lot and I want to get better at it. But for now, like SpongeBob, I can, it's hard to say how long I'll be playing it because I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, I feel like I can't improve yet. Like I'm still really, really hungry to beat my time. So it's hard to say like years down the road where I'll be. And of course, there are a lot of different categories for the game. Like 100% is something I really want to focus on eventually, and that's going to take way longer to optimize than 80%. NG Plus is also a lot of fun. I want to focus on that as well. There are just a lot of categories and strats and stuff to work on. The game, I've only been running it seriously for 2 years, so I'd like to at least get. I can't even say like where how long I want to play until I stop because it's just so far in the future. It's like to me, it's only the beginning. Like I want to keep playing a lot, and again, my stream loves it, and it's supported on it. So that's another reason why I like doing it too. It's something that I can just I know I'm good at it, and I can just come on here every day and do it and have fun with it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Shift, are you gonna make another pie video for Pie Day on Wednesday?
I actually should. The pumpkin pie. We had like a pumpkin pie gag on Halloween. Right, I took a pumpkin pie and I dumped it on my head. So nice. I don't know. We'll see. I actually considered that, but we'll see.
Okay. Hasfar asks, what is your favorite part about the community's growth over the last year and a half?
So a year and a half puts us at around the time when my YouTube channel probably started to get a lot more traction. I think the best part is that not only are we getting a lot of people into the game, but they're all passionate people. Like you saw, like the ratio of submitted runs to the number of players on the board is actually incredible. Like the game has only like 200 or so players, but we have like 1,400 full runs. Awesome. And those people are so dedicated, but that dedication also trickles down to finding strats and the motivation people have to improve the run itself. Because here's the thing, like people pick up this game, they're not picking it up to get world record because like obviously that's like a long way ahead if anybody ever thought about doing something like that. And I always talk about it on the stream, like speedrunning is what you make of it. It's not about the world record. It's not about being the best. Just do what you want to do. If being the best is something you eventually want to do, that's fine. But picking it up, you just like let yourself not force yourself into a mindset because you might enjoy it more doing like doing it for fun or doing it sometimes competitively or not taking it as seriously. Like you never know what you're going to enjoy doing, so you should let yourself have that experience. But what was I saying about the dedication, right? So people have found so many strats and they're so motivated to find things to improve the run because the community is more about like rallying behind the world record and helping like find strats to improve the time because we all feel the same way. Like this is a game we want to have more respect in speedrunning and we want to make it something really cool. And by like improving the strats that are used in the world record and finding new like really crazy things to do, like that just makes the game look so much better. And of course, it's also about people wanting to improve their own times and compare to their friends and make new friends. That's also great too. But I think a big focus on this game is about improving the optimal strats for the game and not just like trying to be the best at it, which is what I like too. It's like it's very game oriented, which is why stuff like tassing, when Hazel's putting together the tasks and a few of us are like talking about routing and stuff, it's all very enjoyable because we all care just as much about the progress of the game strats and stuff like that.
Right.
Cool. You want to pick a question, Cheese? Or how you feeling? You want to start prepping for your...
When are you making the new tutorials?
Sometime this week. I have the splits made up, actually. I have the splits with like the number of spatulas and number of socks after each sub-split.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I got that made up, made the route. I just kind of like sat down and thought about it. I know the game well enough to be able to route like without playing it though. So like I just thought like this goes here, this goes there. This is what you should have here. So I haven't really actually like played any of the route yet. I'm probably gonna like walk through it myself to make sure it works before I do it. But that's coming soon. Yeah.
Sick.
Also, like another thing too is like I wanted to get that done before GDQ submissions go through because I think it would really encourage them to consider the game more if it's getting a lot more attention and it's getting more popular at this time.
Awesome.
And with all the new strats and 56 happening soon and people picking up the game, I think we have a good shot. I'm hoping for it.
Awesome. I guess we could take like one more question.
Sure. Let's see which one here. If we take one more. What advice would you give to BFBB runners or speedrunners in general? What's one thing you've learned so important?
Also, adding on to that question, I saw somebody asked earlier about getting into any percent that their friend wanted to get into it and they wanted to know what advice you can give him to get into any percent.
Tutorial in the chat, like the current one.
Sure.
All right,
just sending it Discord and I'll post it in chat.
Yeah, let me find it. But I'm gonna upload the new tutorial to the same channel, so I say this a lot. I'd recommend trying to learn with this first, but if you have trouble, like definitely don't wait for the new one because this is still gonna give you experience. But if you eventually want to look at the new one, then that'll probably help you as well, like as supplement. Definitely, if you want to learn it, don't wait for the new one because anything can happen. Like if something happens, I have to go somewhere or I can't get it done by the end of the week. You don't want to have to wait, you know? If you're interested, I'd say just go for it. And that goes into my advice about what to give to speedrunners because I think just like if you want to do something, you should do it. Or if you don't want to do something, like if you're not enjoying it, like I think people often think that I force myself to play battle, and I often exaggerate a lot saying I do. But honestly, I really don't. Like every day I feel motivated to play for a long period of time. There's never really a moment, or at least there hasn't been for a while, when I was like, I don't want to play this game, you know? Like people think that my mentality is forcing myself to play. I don't force myself to play really. I know how much I have to play to get where I want to be. And so I do that because I want to do it. I have like the internal motivation to play as much as I do because I know the outcome of it. But if you don't want to play a run, like odds are if you stop and come back when you want to play again, you'll do much better.
Yes,
like pretty much it's all based on feel. Tricks are based on feel. Your emotions toward the run are based on feel. If you want to do something, you'll know inside that you want to do it. Don't pick up a game just because you think it's the most popular game or because it's unpopular. Or just like you have to just kind of know like why you want to do something. And sometimes the answer won't be clear, but again, like deciding to pick up SpongeBob and make it something big, like that's something that I just kind of knew I wanted to do. I didn't really think about it much. It's just like, you know, when people ask why SpongeBob, I'm just like, I don't know. It's a good game, I guess.
Cool. Well, I guess that is all. Cheese has his race coming up, but yo, if you're into SpongeBob, you enjoyed the podcast, follow Shift. He's a god gamer. Going to get that 56 soon, hopefully.
Big game, big plays.
Yeah, dude. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
5701. It's happening soon. Yeah, I had fun, dude. This was good. I'd be down to do it again sometime once you like I guess if you get through the cycle of all the people you want to have on here,
right.
I'd totally be down to come back on and talk about some new stuff as well.
This episode was just as long as the last one, almost 3 hours.
Flew by, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
Great. Covered a lot.
It was a pleasure.
Was this even like mostly about motivation? We covered so much, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of picked something to have like a goal of like things to like a thing to talk about. But
like what was the?
I like the free form though. I like that we just kind of like bounced off each other and picked new things to talk about.
I think cool. I think we chose motivation a lot because at least I know that you personally have a really good sense of motivation because you always have it. So yeah, and we talked about the actual game SpongeBob for like 2 hours. So
because people like it's so hard to look at that game and understand what's going on. You got to explain so much, you know.
Yeah, that's good. All right, well, goodbye. All right. So, who's our next guest next Monday, Sam?
Next Monday we have, I believe, Nindida.
Nindida. Okay, so the almighty Nindida. Okay, so
the almighty.
You actually mentioned him earlier, Shift. Yeah, Nindida is a god among men in speedrunning as well.
That guy is an inspiration.
He's very inspirational when it comes to speedrunning. He's very competitive. I think the most competitive speedrunner I know. He has world record in 80% for SMS.
That's crazy. The fact that he hasn't played in a year and people still have not beaten his time yet.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's so nuts.
So we'll have Nindida next week and same time, same day. And thank you so much, Shift, for being our guest. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah,
thank you for having
me. It was a pleasure to have you, Shift. I
always love talking to you
so
guys.
much.
This time, not drunk.
Yeah. Maybe at Shitty Q, you'll get drunk again for sure.
Oh yeah. I say I won't, but I will probably.
You will. Everyone does.
Simply is gonna be 21.
Okay. Oh yeah, baby! I can actually drink. I have never drank before. It's illegal, so I don't know what that's like. So I'm excited.
Never drank at a restaurant.
Sure.
Not even once.
You totally did not shut down a cup of wine at the restaurant. Oh my god, expensive ass for everyone. Okay, so your Twitch is Shift. What is your Twitter? Give us a rundown. Where can we follow you?
Twitter is at @shift_runs. I shit post on there a lot, so it's worth following.
Is it like that? Oh, what? Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that's like that. Yep. YouTube is /shiftss, but honestly, like if you just post like my speedrun.com profile, all my stuff is linked in there.
Right.
Like all my different Discord link is discord.gg/shift. So then any link you can just go in there. We have like 1,700 people in that Discord. A lot of sick popping.
Damn.
Awesome.
Yeah. Speedrun profile has everything on there.
There's the speedrun profile. Take a look. Check out what he's done.
I think I had the most submitted runs for any single game. Like if you just go on there and you scroll down, like how many runs I have submitted on there.
Really? Wow.
Just keeps going. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. I'm gonna keep streaming. I'm gonna stream the race right now with Farakuzia.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Good luck, cheese. Good shit.
All right.
Good luck with your runs, Shift. I hope you can get that 56. I believe in you, babe.
Man, I gotta get some like a substantial dinner now. I had like a little bit of a snack before I came.
I'm really hungry as well.
Yeah, me too.
All that talking is exhausting.
It does get you a little tired.
It's fun though. I like it.
All right, great. All right.
All right. Love you. Bye. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out, bros.
Love you.